Here in London. It is World Series 1 of 2025. Let's run you through the grid and how they're going to be lining up ahead of the grand final here at the Tokyo Expressway. Well, Sai Suzuki absolutely blitzed it in qualifying. He lines up on pole position for Team BMW and is joined on the front row by Takuma Miyazono for Subaru. Row 2, Sato in the Porsche. They were pretty handy in Q1, but lots of time in Q2. Kawakami and Lexus, the reigning champs, line up alongside. Morimoto heads row 3 for Toyota, and Kokkoman is there for Mazda in 6th place as well. Sasaki lined up P7 for Mercedes AMG, and Goto for Lamborghini down in P8. Can the mid-engine layout prove to be fortunate here today? Kamada lines up 9th, completing the top 10 is Okamoto for Nissan, and the grid is completed by Sugimura in the Honda NSX, and 12th position is Jun Hashima in the Ferrari 458. Now, of course, the difference in tyre strategies available for the drivers. No options for, or no rules essentially to state that they have to use both tyre compounds in the race, and interestingly there, JB, the top two have gone for the softs.
Yeah, I mean, just like another motorsport series, those soft tyres are going to be faster than those mediums. They'll be off to a good start, and the objective of going on that tyre early is to try and build a gap, try and get into clean air and use the rubber to its best possible use. Of course, championship points are available down to 6th position, so everyone vying over those top 6 places. But watch out for Suzuki, watch out for Miyazono. They'll be fast starting, and after that it's going to be a bit of a Royal Rumble, I think.
Yep, certainly will. Looking forward to seeing how this one is going to work out. There is Sai Suzuki. Of course, he's in a bit of a disadvantage at the start of this one, despite being in pole position, because he hasn't got the whole of the air being punched in front of him, unlike all the other drivers behind. And are they going to be able to use that slipstream to their advantage once we get onto the long straight here? Well, we're ready to go. World Series 1 of Gran Turismo here in London is underway. Sai Suzuki leads the field across the line, followed by Miyazono, then Sato. So it's BMW, Subaru and Porsche down towards the first corner. Is anybody going to think about a dive into T1? I think they're a bit too far away, really, to be honest with you. What about, though, into the next series of corners? We're on a long straight now and heading into a very heavy braking zone. Is that going to leave BMW under a bit of pressure here from Subaru? Can Porsche and maybe even Lexus get themselves involved in the action? So here it is, Suzuki that leads on the soft tyres from the fellow soft shod Takuma Miyazono down into the hairpin bend. No moves at the sharp end of this field, but the rear of them looking pretty close actually into there.
Yeah, everyone actually following line of stern through there. So Suzuki, Miyazono lead the pack. A look with the gap already between Miyazono and Sato in that Porsche behind, making use of that soft tyre for now. But as you're saying, Tom, a lot of medium speed corners here, and there is the dirty air that is thrown up by these Group 3 machines. So it's about being a little bit more maybe a bit more careful in the corner than you'd like to be. Now Miyazono kind of hanging on for dear life here on the back on Suzuki in that BMW, using the toe to his best possible use, and he might be close enough for a go into the hairpin at the bottom here, but does he want to leave? That is the question. So on board now with Miyazono through this long twisted session, completely flat out in his Route 3 cars, and now we go towards the hairpin. Suzuki goes defensive in the BMW. Miyazono maybe looks to the inside. No, he stays there for now, and the positions remained unchanged at the front.
It's interesting there how the difference in line sort of converged back up, because we've got the track bottlenecks up. Sato having a big wiggle out of the hairpin bend. That might leave them under a bit of pressure here from Lexus and Kawakami. It's not a particularly long run into sort of the next big braking zone. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, it sort of flicks right and then left, so you're going through these medium speed corners. The problem that you've got, though, in these medium speed corners where you're stuck in the wheel tracks of a driver in front is, of course, you've got dirty air going through there. You're going to be punishing those front tyres a little bit more. So the converse for Miyazono is that, of course, he has got the slipstream, which is great, but in the corners he's going to be really ruining those fronts.
Yeah, Sato just hit the wall there on the exit and it slowed him right down. Here comes Kawakami in the Lexus, the reigning champions, up into third position here. It just shows you how easy it is to make a very small mistake. You touch that wall, you lose so much speed there, but of course the closer you get to it, the wider the corner is, the more speed you can carry. That is pretty much the gambit of the racing driver. Here is Kawakami, and now he's in a defensive position going down to this hairpin at the bottom. Sato looking to the inside, looking to retake that P3. He's there, he's alongside, already back up into third place goes Sato, so he has no interest in staying behind Team Lexus. But of course, these guys doing that, they're going to be squabbling a little bit, and that's going to give more of a space in front to Suzuki and Miyazono. They're going to love that. They're going to look in their rearview mirror and going, cool, great, keep fighting, boys, keep going, we'll just put away in front.
Change of positions further down as well. Okamoto and Goto have just exchanged 8th position to the advantage of the Nissan driver, so they're up then into P8. Let's see whether they can make any further forward progress. Interestingly, the top shop runners have pulled out a gap of about 2 seconds, so they're now out of that slipstreaming range here in this part of the race, which is great news there for them. But what about Ryota Kokuman here in the Mazda? He's going to pull alongside the Lexus, coming down the straight in towards the big braking zone. So it's now Mazda versus Lexus, and it's Mazda with the advantage with the inside line, and Toyota and Morimoto are going to try and join the party. There's a bit of hip and shoulder, a bit of contact into the hairpin. That's going to send Sasaki wide and drop them down about 3 or 4 places as a result of that as well. So it's now starting to get a bit fast and a bit frantic with these medium shot runners, as we still sit side by side now here between Morimoto and Kokuman for 4th place.
It's Kawakami there in that Lexus, and it'll get a little bit rowdy now, Tom, as you say. There is running really one line through these corners here due to the cameras on the circuit, so as soon as you start going 2 by 2, you just end up having usually inevitable contact. We're on board now with Hiroshi Okimoto for Nissan. Great seat here of the fight ahead of us. Lamborghini in front in P7, almost pushing that thing along in our glorious turbo brick as we go down to T1 one more time. Really fast left hand, this one. You want to use all the roads here. Watch out for that barrier on the right hand side. I think maybe a little bit of contact with the wall there from Morimoto, but still able to hold the position for now as we come down to the hairpin for the 3rd time.
So Kokuman then in the wheel tracks here of the Toyota. In the background there, you've got Mazda looking like they're trying to put a bit of pressure, but also behind as well, you've got Goto versus Okamoto, part 3. Now Okamoto gets the better of the Lamborghini driver through into that hairpin once more. The gap at the front still continues to build. They're just running their own race here at the moment and have pulled out an advantage of about 2.5 seconds or so over Sato on the medium compound of tyres. Let's have another look at what happened then down into the hairpin bend. This is what cost AMG some track position. They're going to get biffed here, I think, by Okamoto first of all, and Goto there was on his inside as well, so that just lost them 2 places and possibly a 3rd, just able to get the better of them on the exit of the corner.
You guys watching the Spanish Grand Prix run, John? It's good effort, good move, strong move. But meanwhile, at the front of the grid, Miyazono had actually pulled back on to the rear spoiler of Suzuki in front. So there is pace there in that BRZ. I was giving it grief here at the start of the show, but actually he's looking pretty quick, and he's just doing what he needs to do, just holding on to that slipstream, just sitting there. And what sort of trivia is that? Listen to the song Philosophy by Alexandros, right?
I've never heard of the song, so I can't really pass comment on it, to be honest.
Go check it out.
If it works for him, it's a Japanese pop song, as we understand it. So if it works for him, great news, because he's sitting in second place at the moment, and he seems like he's in the groove at the moment. Go and have a listen to that after the race, obviously, and let us know what your thoughts are on it. Meanwhile, Kawakami here defends from Morimoto. Across the start-finish line we go. Morimoto with the inside line and trap position. Kawakami possibly about to come under threat here from Cockman as well, but fourth place does change hands to the advantage of the Toyota. Morimoto is now in front, and they're starting to fall off the coattails of Sato in the Porsche here as well. They're about a second or so away, so they need to be careful about how they start battling here.
Speaking of battling, Kawakami is very keen to get that fourth place. Here comes Cockburn as well in the Mazda, looking to almost push that Lexus through the gap. So, well, if you're not going to go for it, I will, but they all stay one at a time for now. And of course, not much you can really do outside of the 16 rounds here. It's a one-at-a-time circuit. There are a couple of places to overtake, but right now it is just follow the leader. And with 4 laps in, the soft tyres seemingly still have the pace advantage over the mediums, but that will switch as the race goes on. So right now, if it's Suzuki, if you're Miyazono in front, we're trying to build that gap. We're trying to make the gap as big as possible, so to prepare for that inevitable tyre fall-off. The medium runners, though, we think they can go upwards of 13 laps before switching to that soft tyre. So it's about making this tyre last, but also by keep pressuring those soft runners, because that tyre will burn out quickly.
Well, you wonder what the soft tyre runners are going to do of Suzuki and Miyazono. Are they going to go for that two-stop strategy here in this race as Cockburn looks to the inside of Kawakami? Here's Morimoto there as well. There's more contact behind with Kawakami, then subsequently getting into the back of Cockburn. That's allowed the door to be opened for Okamoto in the Nissan, who now drags alongside the Lexus, and ready to join into the party is Yusuke Goto in the Lamborghini coming through into the right-hander here as well. So it all got a bit frantic there for just a few moments. The upshot is that it's cost Lexus positions here.
How tight this race is. We've got P4 all the way down to, well, last, and they're just separated by about 2 seconds, all of them there on a similar piece of tarmac. Kawakami has lost a few places now, down 2 places from his qualifying place, but conversely behind him, Okamoto up 3 in the Nissan. He's the biggest mover so far, so watch out for him. He is on a charge.
So, under investigation then is Cockburn versus Morimoto. We saw that collision a few moments ago. Let's see what the stewards decide on that one. Meanwhile, you've got the Porsche there, just sitting in third position. The gap is still stabilised at about a second or so between themselves and Morimoto in the Toyota. Meanwhile, you've got Cockburn versus Kawakami. He was on the outside there. You've got to be so careful with this one, though, because they are so close on circuit. You open the doors to take a wider line, and then that possibly means that someone can walk through it from behind, and it compromises your entire run down the next straight.
Yeah, it's you have to be careful here. So interestingly, look at the tyre wear there on those front tyres of Suzuki compared to Miyazono. You'd kind of think maybe that Miyazono would be worse given he's sitting in that dirty air, but I think that car's just a bit lighter, and the weight of the BMW really showing there on those front tyres. So that could be the difference. Going up and down the field, though, I think the best on their tyres so far is Kawakami in 6th place, but doesn't mean much if you're stuck there.
No, you've got to try and make the progression through. Maybe just playing the longer game here in this one and waiting for the right time to strike. Cockburn goes to the defensive line into the hairpin bend. It all bottlenecks up, and Okamoto once again gets into the back of Kawakami, and a bit of hip and shoulder there from Kamada in the McLaren as well. Someone is going to be more disappointed than Arusa, who's had their tonsils out after this race. I'm fairly sure of it, because they are so close to one another out on this circuit that you can just sense the fact that it is starting to bubble up. We're only on lap 5 as again the McLaren of Kamada looks to the inside of Hashima there.
It's not really a move there to be made, just sort of sticking there and their nose alongside the rear wheel, and you're never going to get through there. You're just going to cause a little bit of contact, but yeah, really getting a little bit desperate now, because if you're stuck at the back of the straight, there's not really much you can do apart from try and push the guy in front of you on a little bit. Now, you might be wondering, well, why aren't these guys bump drafting? They'll definitely catch up if they did that. That is actually against the rules here in the GT live events here. You get 1 warning for bump drafting, and then you get a big fat penalty. So that's why those guys are not pushing each other along.
Yeah, they're just taking it fairly easy at the sharp end of this race. We get into lap 6 now, which is when we're expecting the soft tyres to start going off. Don't forget as well, in the viewers campaign, if you watch directly on Gran Turismo 7, you can receive a gift card for every show that is watched. Jun Hashima looks to the inside of Goto 8th place rather in this one, and gets the move done in the Ferrari, so now moves up into 8th position. Meanwhile, there are your top two, Suzuki in the BMW and Miyazono in the Subaru. Interestingly, Suzuki's front tyres are a fair bit more worn than Miyazono's.
Yeah, about another half a lap or so's worth of wear there on Suzuki's side, maybe a lap on Miyazono, but the rear tyres not quite as balanced. But what that says to me is that Miyazono, if he can keep this up, might get one more lap out of those soft tyres. And those soft tyres, they do tend to be pretty quick right until the end of their life, so that could be the difference here. But the gap now between Miyazono and Sato, I mean, we're getting up to about 4 seconds now, 4.4 at the last time of checking there, so they are doing the job here, making that gap, but I think it could have been bigger. I don't think that's exactly it. They haven't made the most of it, the guys at the front.
Morimoto here looking against Sato as well. The gap was up to a second about 3 or 4 laps or so ago. It has now come right down, and Morimoto is bringing a train of cars along with him, which might leave Sato under a bit of pressure here. And will that mean that they're able to find their way through and present an opportunity for that final podium place? It's only the early stages of the race. There's no point getting too excited about things at the moment. Still plenty of time for the complexion of this one to change. But we're coming on the start-finish straight. Sato keeping the car very firmly on the left-hand side of the circuit. And they're going to go for a defensive line down to T1. They move over to the normal racing line, but you can see the closing speed there with this Toyota, and subsequently how much quicker they're able to go through into turn one. They have to back right off of the pace, even though they've got more of an advantage and a bit more grip underneath them, courtesy of some fresher tyres then here as well. And you sense that it's starting to bubble up here for this podium place, and Sato knows that, goes for the defensive line. Morimoto goes for the outside into the hairpin. Can they invent something into the braking zone? Morimoto on the outside and now through into third.
It's that Toyota now starting to come strong in the second part of the race, maybe just a little bit better on those worn tyres than the cars around it. Again, reminder of our tyre strategies there. We think that these soft tyres, this is going to be their last lap, and I'm thinking about it. I think Miyazono can definitely do one more. I'm not sure about Suzuki though. The gap has come down slightly now between P2 and P3, so those medium tyres are starting to be quicker than the softs. Now, the question is, has Miyazono, has Suzuki, have they noticed that? Are they going to box this out? So the pit lane is just in this hairpin here. Suzuki leading the soft runners down towards there. Miyazono in P2, who we ride on board with now. Do they peel to the left-hand side of the circuit? They do. Both of them into the pit lane there. Switching over to that medium compounder tyre. They've decided they can't do any more. And Suzuki and Miyazono both pit together.
What they now need is a nice bit of clear air to run along with each other in this race. Pit loss time about 11 seconds or so, plus the time that you are stopped for, which, as you can see, is fairly minimal. Where are they going to emerge back into this race, and how much is the distance in terms of seconds going to be between Sasaki and Suzuki? Meanwhile, the sharp end of this one, now the battle for the effective race lead is starting to get a bit scrappy. Sato has gone back in front of Toyota. Meanwhile, Suzuki and Miyazono, they've got about 6 seconds or so to Sasaki. That's a good buffer for them. They can just run their own race, carry on doing their own strategy, and not worry about being caught up in other people's dramas.
Well, this is the important part of the race now with Suzuki and Miyazono. You need to really push now and make the most of that clear air in front, as Tom says. So Sato, conversely, in the same sort of position. These next few laps, they need to make sure they are not fighting so much and just trying to get that lap time in, because they, the guy directly behind is not the threat for the win. It is the two cars in 11th and 12th place.
And the converse to that, of course, is that could also happen to the likes of Morimoto, Sato, Kokuma, etc. They're obviously on a different strategy on the medium tyres. In theory, they'll be quicker at the end of the race if indeed they do go on to soft tyres, which is what we're expecting them to do. But the problem is, if they start fighting amongst one another, start squabbling, that's going to cost them time. And if it costs them a second, half a second or so, that can be the difference between challenging for the victory and battling for the lowly podium places.
Well, we're going to find out in about 5 laps' time when these guys come in and bolt on a set of those soft tyres. So it does seem that the strategy is that one stop, and it is make the mediums go as long as possible and then get on those soft tyres. So a reminder, the points awarded here for the top 6 cars, of course. 6 down to 1 from 1st to 6th position, and they will count, of course, towards the final all the way in Fukuoka at the end of the year. So score points early, puts you in a good place for the rest of the year.
So on board here then with Jun Hashima in the Ferrari. We know that car's pretty handy. We've seen good pace from it over the course of last season with Medina, who took a victory in World Series 2 back in Prague. Meanwhile, let's have a look at some dramas then here between Miyazono and Suzuki. So this is coming down into the hairpin after the first corner, and you see Miyazono getting the inside, getting track position there against Suzuki. The positions, though, yeah, they still sit differently there. So Miyazono is now back in front.
So interesting, that's Miyazono basically making a move for the lead of this race. He's decided he doesn't want to sit behind Suzuki anymore. He wants to push hard on this medium compounder tyre. He's already made a gap of about half a second there, so maybe we're going to now see the real pace of Miyazono in that Subaru.
Well, what was the good thing about Miyazono's car in that first strategy? The tyres. It went, you know, what, 4 or 5% higher than Suzuki's. And he was in dirty air over the course of that first stint, so maybe he now wants to run in clear air, save those tyres even more, and maybe the fact that that car is being pretty kind to the rubber that's on the bottom of it will prove to be a benefit for them later on in the race. Meanwhile, we look at the battle for the race leaders it sits for now. Morimoto still defends. Sato's looking for the inside line. Kokeman's getting involved as well as Kawakami. Kawakami's on the inside then, the third position against Kokeman. Sato there looking to pick the pocket of the Toyota as well, but nothing doing. So Kawakami was the only beneficiary despite a lot of action kicking off into there.
No, it's interesting, behind this, it's only a 4.5 second gap until we have Miyazono and Suzuki. They're not too far behind this little train, so really showing the pace of that new medium tyre compared to the old right now as Morimoto leads into the tunnel from Sato from Kawakami. The snake of cars echoing through the tunnel here in the Tokyo Expressway, coming down to the hairpin one last time. 9 laps down, 20 to go. Morimoto really trying to bend into this hairpin. They want to let Sato have it. These guys need to maybe start working a bit more intelligently together if they want any hope of taking the win here today. Kawakami, big lunge around the outside. Is he going into the pits?
Yeah, he can't overshoot it that much.
Say, what a move if he's making that work.
Yeah, straight to the pits there for Kawakami. Now, interestingly, where's he going to go in terms of strategy? Medium tyres, about a second or so slower, and he's gone for another medium set of tyres. So he's going for the medium strategy then, presumably for the end of this. I'm hoping that the longevity of that compound of tyre will prove to pay dividends later on in the race. And what's the thing you need in pit lane? After pit lane, rather, you need clear air. So he needs to come out without any dramas. No traffic behind him is the crucial thing there for Kanata Kawakami as he emerges back into this race. He's about 5 seconds or so off the back of Suzuki. Again, worked out quite nicely for them here, and he'll have decent enough rubber to the end of this one.
Just have to wonder if that's the play or not. Like, it's a tricky one because we know how fast that soft tyre is. But we're seeing the tyre life here on our screens, and a lot of the guys are struggling. And if they want to make that soft tyre work, which is about 7 laps maximum on that, Sato, for example, who has pretty much no rear tyres left compared to the guys around him, needs to make those tyres last another 3 laps.
Well, just to give you an idea of the difference in pace between worn mediums and new mediums. New mediums for Miyazono and Suzuki, they're in the sort of mid 1 minute 57s. The drivers that are all on the medium tyres that haven't pitted yet, the sharp end of this race that you're looking at, they're all sort of in the early to mid 1 minute 58, so they're about 8 to 9 tenths of a second slower at this point.
Maybe Kawakami saw this. He thought, okay, right, I can see that I'm stuck in this train. I can't do anything else. If I pit for softs with everybody else, I'm going to still be stuck in this train. I might as well try something different. And he ended up boxing for those medium tyres, and we'll just keep an eye on that because we'll see if anyone else blinks. Now will be the time to do it at the end of this lap, coming again for that medium set. Will Kawakami get an undercut? We will see. Morimoto still leading this train of the non-stoppers so far in Team Toyota. That car still strong here in 2025.
Sato's the one you need to worry about because he's got lower tyres compared to everybody else around him. Kokeman, incidentally, in the Mazda, looking pretty handy there with 45%. Now Sato's into the pits in the Porsche at the end of lap 10 then. So how is this going to work out? What's the gap going to be relative to Kanata Kawakami? Sasaki and Sugimura also following him into the pit lane there as well.
Look at the gap. There's Miyazono, there's Kawakami, and they just swan off into the lead. Massive lead for those guys. They have played the right thing for now. Kawakami there just about getting by Sato, so he pitted 1 lap earlier. Tyres are fired up, already up at temperature, and by Sato he goes. So maybe that was the right call there for Kawakami.
Well, the undercuts work. The problem is now that he, of course, has worn his tyres a little bit more because he's done 1 more lap. So will they come to bite him in the backside in the closing stage of the race? He's, enjoying the fruits of his labour as it sits for now, but let's see what it looks like in 8.5 laps time. Meanwhile, the sharp end of this one, the top 6 drivers have not yet pitted. That's Toyota with Morimoto, Kokeman with Mazda, Okamoto with Nissan, Hashima with Ferrari, Goto with the Lamborghini, Kamada with the McLaren, and Miyazono, of course, is the first of the drivers that has now pitted. So 6 drivers yet to box. Will they come in at the end of this lap? Let's wait and see.
we will, as these guys still squabbling, although they have calmed down somewhat now. I think they understand that they do need to just push and try and lose as little time as possible. Let's look at the background. You see there in the background Kawakami and Sato, but here is Suzuki and Miyazono, both looking very quick right now, and importantly only 4.8 seconds now behind Kamada in the McLaren, who's yet to stop. So these guys are going to jump everyone when they box, but they are going to be on that older car at the end. But track position is important around here.
That's the problem, isn't it? You've got to find that balance between using track position and also wearing your tyres out. They've got a 5-second buffer over Kawakami, which is, great for them right now, but is it going to leave them vulnerable at the end of the race? Let's wait and see what happens, though, as we come down in towards the pit area. Does anybody dive into the pits? Morimoto there on the outside as Kokeman goes over to take the lead. We know that Mazda has been pretty kind on its tyres so far in this race, and they still sit side by side on the exit of the corner. So the RX Group 3 car then now moves ahead of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT concept. So it's Mazda who hit the front for the first time in 2025 now.
Here they are. Kokeman, of course, a bit of a veteran from these series. There you go. Starting playing Jeep when he was 3 years old. This is why he's so much better than I am.
3 years old, I was still trying to play the PlayStation, and my sister was putting the controller underneath so that I wasn't getting in the way of her playing the PlayStation.
Oh, giving you the unplugged controller.
Absolutely.
Classic.
That was it. I know.
I do that now. I do that with you still now.
You wait till Guy gets a bit older, mate. He's going to love that one. So Kokeman it is that leads at the start of lap 12. Then Morimoto in second. You can see these drivers have now started to pick up the pace. It's interesting, actually, because they were in the mid 1 minute 58s at once upon a time when they were squabbling amongst one another. They've now picked up the pace to sort of the low 1 minute 58s, some even in the higher 1:57s. Kokeman was a 57.6 last time around, which was pretty handy. Not quite as quick as we've seen from some of the medium job runners who are on fresher tyres at this stage, but given the fact that they're 12 laps old, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can see, though, the gap between Kamada and Suzuki. Very, very close right now. As Paul Euro looking on at his teammate for Team Mazda. Of course, he will be in the car at one of our other events representing them. Berlin, yes, he'll be in there for them. Just hoping that he gets off to a good start here this year for Team Mazda. So here are the tyres as they stand. Now these guys they're all going for the soft. There's no doubt about that. They're trying to make the 13 laps work on the medium compound tyre. Morimoto in the background looking to try and get back past Kokeman. Kind of working together there, giving each other the slingshot without bump drafting and just putting themselves along a bit quicker than the rest of the group.
Now we're coming towards the end of what we thought was going to be a useful window, and indeed the top two are coming in at the end of lap 12 then, and they're also being followed in by another driver as well. So Gotto is into the box there. So now it's only 3 drivers that are yet to pit in this race. So a lap earlier than we're expecting the ultimate race distance to be, but it's interesting there, the drivers that started on the medium tyres now going onto the soft compound. So the real outlier here is Kawakami, who of course went medium in this race. Is that going to prove to be to his benefit later on when those soft tyres are, I imagine, going to be pretty clapped out?
Yeah, so well, I didn't notice that Suzuki did get back by Miyazono at some point, so they're 56.6 on the last lap. These guys are flying at the moment. You can see there are Suzuki and Miyazono in relation to those who have not stopped yet. So using that fresher medium tyre, they've been able to catch back up onto the pack in front of them, but now they're going to be in the converse position where their tyres are going to be a little bit worn, and they're going to be chased down by the guys who are now on those soft tyres. Morimoto, Kokeman and Goto on there as well. They'll be joined very shortly, I'm sure, by Okamoto Hashima and Kamada.
Well, you get the sense that this race is going to start bubbling up towards the end of this one. Let's have a look at how Suzuki got back in front of Miyazono through these fast left-handers, and that was a beautiful bit of slits there in the BMW. Switched to the inside line, got through, and is now ahead of the Subaru for what we effectively think is going to be the race lead. You can see they've ascended up to 4th position, and they are lurking there in the background from the top 3, who of course are still owing that one final pit stop in this race.
So here we are then into the tunnel again. Now I have no doubt we're going to see the top 3 now peeling into the pit lane left hand side on the way into the hairpin here. That will release of course Suzuki and Miyazono back up into 1st and 2nd place, but can they stay there? Sato behind there on a fresher medium compound tyre. Kawakami as well in the same strategy. Then behind them it's the soft runners. Those, they're going to be very, very fast into the race. Do they have enough time to chase down the leaders? Well, stay tuned and find out.
So into the box come the top 3 then. So all pit stops now beginning to work out. Keep an eye out though for Kokubun, Morimoto and Goto. They're on the soft tyres. We reckon they could go about 8 or 9 laps or so in this one. So are they going to be able to be a threat and close down on the medium shop runners in the end of this race? They're only about 2 seconds off the back of the likes of Sato and Kawakami, who've gone medium in terms of the tyre strategy, so they might be able to challenge for the podium. The overall race win though is a further 5 seconds up the road from that one, so I think it's going to be a bit of a tall order. But if these two start squabbling, and indeed maybe they come to blows, then the door is wide open.
Yeah, I mean, Kawakami's tyres aren't even that much fresher. I mean, it's a couple of laps of Miyazono and Suzuki, so I think that might not have been the play there for Team Lexus. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We've still got a few laps left of this one, but the strategy's yet to unfold. So here's Goto with Morimoto. These guys just boxed for those soft tyres, so they're going to be fast now. I think realistically for them, minimum lap time, 56s. They need to be in those 56s if they have any hope now of catching the cars in front, which means working together and not trying to lunge each other every corner. But if you're going to right now in the Lamborghini and you think, oh, maybe I'm a bit quicker, how do you resist that?
So Kenta Morimoto then behind the wheel of the Toyota, coming under pressure here from the Lamborghini into the hairpin we go. It's an interesting corner that, because it's sort of 2 corners in one effectively. You've got to really time your line quite nicely because it's a fast jink to the left following this one. You sort of have to get out of the throttle and then back on it. Lining astern are these top 3, or I'd say top 3 in this sort of soft shod battle at the moment. And are they going to start working together? Because the problem is, if they start squabbling and then destroying their tyres amongst one another, then that's going to compromise their race, possibly cost them an opportunity at the podium, maybe even the overall victory, depending on how this one plays out.
Yep, still need to wait and see how that's going to happen. We're watching Kokubun here. 55.9 was his last lap, so that is the fastest lap of the race. Kokubun and Team Mazda are on a charge now, and in front is Sato, who opted for the double medium strategy. He is going to be nowhere. Kawakami there as well, and they're already being caught by the soft runners. So I think the double medium strategy, Tom, was not the way to go, and we're now seeing that in action as Kokubun leading 2 other soft runners right up to the back of 3rd and 4th place.
Well, unless those tyres fall off a cliff at the end of this race, the soft shop runners of Kokubun, Morimoto, Goto, etc., then you would imagine, like you say, that they are not going to be able to keep hold of that podium. On board we ride here with Kokubun in P5.
What's important now though for Kokubun is to get by these guys as quick as possible. He cannot afford to be stuck here. On board then with the Mazda RS Vision GT concept stealth model, longest name I think in the GT7 there, that glorious rotary engine. As we come through this left hand, you can see how much quicker those soft tyres are. Now Kokubun is just about going to be getting the faintest sniff now on a slipstream. That will make him a bit quicker down the straight. Will he get him close enough though for a move down to the bottom? I don't think so, but I think it's only a matter of time before we see Kokubun making the move from Kawakami and Sato.
Yeah, what Kokubun would really benefit from here, as well as Morimoto and Goto behind, is those 2 in front to start squabbling amongst one another. You can see Sato a little bit wide going through that hairpin there as he eases onto the throttle here. Does Kokubun sort of takes a couple of stabs at it as he tries to get optimum traction on the exit of this one, and as you said, he needs to get his way past. Morimoto and Goto likewise there as well. So if you're Kawakami and if you're Sato, it's sort of squeaky bum time really here at the moment, because you know that you're going to be coming under pressure. The sharp end of this race, what Kokubun would really benefit from is if Suzuki and Miyazono start getting involved in their own squabble here as we look back for this battle for 3rd place.
This is going to be decisive here for Kokubun. We go for a move down to the hairpin. He's got the toe. He's got Morimoto and Goto behind him as well, all looking to try and make the move. Sato goes defensive to the inside. It's now 2 wide. Where will Kokubun go? Nowhere to go there. So Sato blocking the inside, then Kawakami also the outside. Kokubun pushing his way through there up into P4, but Kawakami now really is a bit of a sitting duck here, Tom.
Yeah, bottlenecks up there as well. Goto trying to get involved in the act as well. He's just trying to show a wheel on the inside as well as Morimoto. So through into the right hander we go. Kokubun on the inside, Kawakami on the outside. Soft versus medium. Soft is going to reign supreme then here, and is Kawakami going to lose maybe another position, possibly to Goto, and indeed then also to Morimoto as well. So 3 places lost in the space of as many corners. Next target for Kokubun, Goto and Morimoto is going to be Sato in the Porsche. Across the timing line we go, down into T1. The Porsche driver of Sato knows that, takes a defensive line through there, and now we know that the soft tyre has got a greater amount of grip underneath, and surely it's going to be into the hairpin bend where they're going to think about a lunge.
Yeah, it's nothing you can do there. The idea is just try and get a good setup now down to the hairpin, use the toe, and Sato, I mean, valiantly defended, but you can't help but think it's all going to be for nothing as we now go down towards the hairpin. Kokubun looking to the outside of Sato, who goes defensive in the Porsche. Will he be able to outbrake the Mazda on the outside? He tries to. He's still alongside the Porsche, fighting for dear life for P3. Keeps the pace for now, but on the inside there, who is that?
That's Goto. That was Goto on the inside with a massive send. The door was sort of half open there, and now it's Sato versus Goto, side by side on the exit of the corner. This is getting fast and frantic. Goto with the inside line against Sato, again soft versus medium. Now it's the Lamborghini driver that's up through and into the podium places. Sato almost faces the wall on the outside. Morimoto picks his pocket in the Toyota, and now also Kokubun ready to join in on the action.
Yeah, great defensive effort there from Sato, but short-lived, cannot defend against that medium tire. Contact in the tunnel. Is there going to be a crash? No, Goto in the wall though, slows him right down. Kokubun back up into P4 now, leading this train. Sorry, Morimoto in the Toyota there is now as well. These guys all fighting furiously for that last podium place. Sato in the wall, he's round. Sato there in the wall, and there goes Porsche's effort for any position here in round one of the grand final.
Well, we said it was going to bubble up, and so it proved to be exactly what we didn't want to see happening in the Gran Turismo World Series. And unfortunately there was a lot of fast and frantic action going on in the space of a handful of corners, and unfortunately that many drivers into that position just doesn't go. The upshot is it is Porsche and Sato that have been the big losers in that one, and they are now going home pointless. Points only down to 6th place here, just to remind you. The upshot is, whilst this battle's been going on here, Jimmy, it's allowed that nice bit of clear air for Suzuki and the BMW, Miyazono air for Suzuki and the BMW, Miyazono in the Subaru, to just have enough of a buffer to not worry about what's going on behind.
Let's take a peek at what happened then. So on board Kawakami, Sato goes to the inside, a lot of moving there from a lot of people. So a little bit of contact on the back. Oh, Kawakami there caused that. Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose at all, but unfortunately it doesn't really matter. He's the one that caused that contact there, so I do think we're probably going to see a penalty for Kawakami at some point. Meanwhile, they're still fighting, Tom. They're still fighting for that third place. I think they all know now they can't catch Suzuki and Miyazono, so you might as well just have this last position. But of course, the investigation, the result of that might change this race entirely.
Yeah, Kawakami not giving this one up. He's on the medium tyres, but his tyre wear relative to those around him, pretty similar on the soft tyres. And of course, we know that medium is slower over the course of a lap. So this is some great driving from Kawakami in terms of the lap time and keeping hold of track position. But of course, we know that incident between himself and Sato is now under investigation. Meanwhile, the sharp end of this race, we've not mentioned it too much over the last few laps. They're still only 0.3 of a second away from one another. And this is going to start to get pretty frisky, isn't it, at the sharp end of this one?
You get the impression maybe Miyazono is waiting, and Kanata Kawakami, as we expected, given a 3-second penalty there for his part in the incident with Team Porsche and Sato. I mean, again, not intentional, but just because you don't mean something doesn't mean it isn't your fault. And unfortunately for Kawakami, that 3-second penalty is going to take him way outside the points there. As you can see, points awarded first, down to 6th position. What I can tell you now is Kawakami won't be having any of those.
That is a big shame there for Team Lexus, and not the way they're wanting to kick off their title defence in the Manufacturers' Cup. So now, what does it look like for the final podium place as well? Morimoto still right on the coattails of Ryota Kokubun in the Mazda at the moment. We're right on board with Yusuke Goto, who was up as high as third a few moments ago, but has sort of lost out, really, as it were. Now he's got a face full of Lexus as we come across the timing line, and there is the penalty being served for Kawakami, who drops back down to, what, 9th position now, so that's really proven to be quite detrimental to the reigning Manufacturers' Cup champions here.
That feeling just sucks as well, because you get to the line, you have to slow down for 3 seconds, then get back up to speed. So 3 seconds is more like 5 or 6. You really get hammered for that. So yeah, unfortunate for them, but of course the fight still rages on at the front of the field for P3. It's Mazda versus Toyota. These guys have been rivals in the Manufacturers' Cup for about as long as I can remember it, and still going on here. Goto in the background in that Lamborghini. It's a good run for Lamborghini, to be fair. But we haven't seen Lambo in the sharp end of one of these events for quite some time. So see him in P5 there challenging what could possibly be for a podium. It's really impressive there for the Italian brand.
Yeah, I wonder if the balance of performance update for this season has just helped them a little bit in terms of closing that deficit down, because as you say, we haven't seen Lamborghini up the sharp end of the field for as you say, a fair amount of time. So we'll see how it goes over the course of the remaining World Series events in 2025. Meanwhile, we look here at Cockburn with Morimoto again still very close behind. 2.5 laps now to go. We go from day into night and into the daylight indeed here as well, as Cockburn again takes a defensive line. Morimoto goes for the outside line, the sharp end of the field. The lead of the race is changing hands here between Miyazono and Suzuki as well. Now it's the Subaru driver that's just gotten in front from what we can see on our timing screens, as third place is now occupied by the Mazda. We need to look at the battle though for the race lead, because it's all well and good looking at this battle for the final podium places, but the two of Miyazono and Zaya Suzuki are getting pretty frantic here then. We thought this was going to start to kick off, and lap 18 is where the battle begins.
Yeah, I was watching the live timing, Tom. I saw Miyazono got Suzuki just down into the hairpin there, and Suzuki using the power of the BMW was able to pull back through, but now Miyazono making his move. 2 laps to go here then at the grand final, round 1 here at London for the Manufacturers' Cup. It's Team Subaru leading Team Manufacturers' Cup. It's Team Subaru leading Team BMW at the moment. Meanwhile, the fight's still going on for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and here is that move for the lead here. So Miyazono there using the toe up the inside in the Subaru. Very nice and tidy through there. Just about making that move second. I think he lost the drag race up here a little bit, but had the right line in the rest of the course and managed to maintain first position.
Yeah, it worked quite nicely there for Takuma Miyazono. Sort of lunged his way to the inside. The door was kind of half open, but he decided to open it fully, going through into that corner and force Suzuki for a wider line to compromise his compatriot's exit going through there. And now we look at the sharp end as the headlights glimmer in the nighttime here at the Tokyo Expressway. It's Subaru versus BMW for the race victory then here. 0.3 of a second in it, and a lap and a half left to remain for this one. It's too close to call. You have to say the BMW faster in a straight line, but the Subaru definitely quicker in the twisty bits.
You've got to think about it here. The high speed game of chess. Suzuki there shows his hand. Up into first place goes Team BMW. Is that where Miyazono wants to be though? Because on the next lap, the final lap, he'll have the toe down to the hairpin. But Suzuki is not thinking about that right now. Miyazono looking to the inside. Will he have a go here? Yeah, showing his nose there, going for a very late move on Suzuki. They're just trying to unsettle him on exit now as the sun goes down. We go into night, and Miyazono now starting to move around on that medium compound of tyre. So that medium compound starting to get now to the end of its useful life, but these guys still pushing onwards. 3-second gap behind the Morimoto in the Toyota as we come onto the last lap here at Tokyo.
So winner takes all stakes, and of course points available for the top 6 drivers here in this one as well. Who is going to be taking the maximum crown though? And Suzuki was just into the wall on the outside there as we head across the timing line to begin the final lap. It's BMW versus Subaru. It's Suzuki versus Miyazono as we head down into turn 1 for the final time.
Here we go then, a little bit of contact there of Suzuki on the way through. Had to be millimetrically perfect through here to get the best line. And Miyazono now in a great position for a move down into the bottom of the course. But do you go for that if you're Miyazono? Do you just wait and be patient and take the move into the hairpin? Let's wait and see. Miyazono deep in the slipstream, goes to the outside then, coming down to this first hairpin. Going to get squeezed out, I think, by Suzuki. Looks to try and go back inside, but as Suzuki might have outbraked himself here. Will Miyazono get the cut back? Not quite for now.
Suzuki's got that line covered there quite nicely, hasn't he? It's going to be all about the traction, the exit out of this corner and the run through into the next series of them then. So we ride on board with Takuma Miyazono battling for the victory and trying to get maximum points for Subaru to try and take that crown back in the Manufacturers' Cup in 2025. And now we know that Miyazono pretty handy in the slipstream and diving his way to the inside. He's going to have to think about this one quite carefully then here. Use that strength of the Subaru in the last stage of this race.
Here we are then in the toe. Miyazono quite far back though. It's going to be quite a big lunge there for Takuma. So Suzuki in front. Miyazono on board looking to try and displace them. Coming down to the hairpin now, deep in the toe. 272 kilometres an hour. Suzuki goes defensive. Miyazono goes all the way to the outside. Can he try and get a putt? He does! Plays him like a fiddle. Up into first place goes Takuma Miyazono. Masterful move there from the multiple champion. Up into lead he goes with only a few corners to go.
There is no adage for experience in the Gran Turismo World Series, and so it proves to be for Takuma Miyazono. Sasaki and Kawakami are under investigation in the closing stages of this race, but that was absolutely brilliant from Takuma Miyazono. Just a handful of corners now remaining. Can Suzuki invent something? I think he's a bit too far away unless you can think about a lunge to the inside, but it is then going to be maximum points in Gran Turismo World Series 1 here in London. London for Team Subaru and for Takuma Miyazono, who win the grand final. What a fantastic end to that race. Suzuki and BMW come over the line in second. It's Kokeman for Mazda on the podium in third place. Morimoto for Toyota, Okamoto for Nissan, and then Kamada for... Then is lined up. Jose Serrano starts his one on pole position. Paul Ura, his compatriot, alongside on the front row of the grid. Adriano Carrazza from Brazil heads row 2, and he has got Kylian Drumont, the Frenchman, on home soil at the Circuit de la Sarthe for company. Thomas Lamoutelet heads row 3 in the Aston Martin, of course, and then it is Angel Inestrosa, 6th position on the grid. Takuma Miyazono, P7, he's the reigning world champion with Valerio Gallo for company. Completing the top 10 is Guy Barbara, the Australian, and just on the fringes of it is Takuma Sasaki, who will be hoping for better fortunes in the race. Kai de Bruyne lines up P11, the Dutchman, and then 12th position is the newcomer. Samuel Cardinal, the Canadian, is at the back of the field. So, soft tyres for the drivers, 5 laps and a rolling start here, Jimmy.
Yes, not really much you can do in terms of strategy. It is just, as suggested, an all-out sprint race, all about pace here. So, will we see the two Spanish drivers work together as we have in the past? Will we see Carrazza get into the mix, and will we see Miyazono move up? All remains to be seen, but 5 laps time we're going to have our grid for the grand final.
Absolutely. How important is this for the grand final, Jimmy? Because the circuit we're going to be racing on, completely different in terms of characteristics.
Yeah, I mean, here overtaking is fairly easy for Slipstream, but the Grand Valley circuit a bit later on, much tighter, much twistier, and getting by someone there is completely different. So getting that qualifying position here is going to be super, super important.
Absolutely. Well, there is Guy Barbara. He's starting a bit further down the order than he would like. Let's see what forward progress he can make over the course of this one, as Jose Serrano leads the field to the timing line. Paul Ura follows him, and Adriano Carrazza, as we get the sprint race underway here. The Nations Cup Gran Turismo World Series in London is go, as Serrano leads them up towards the Dunlop curve, and as they head into the chicane, is anybody going to think about a move on the brakes? Well, the rolling start spreads the field out a little bit there, so there's no dive bomb moves, but Carrazza gets tagged there by Drumont into the first corner, just sends the Brazilian a little bit wide and might leave him under a bit of pressure in turn. What that has done is allowed Serrano and Ura a bit more of a gap at the sharp end, as it's all bottlenecked up behind.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Spanish drivers wanted at this point. They wanted to have that gap straight away, and Carrazza's given it to him. Lamoutelet there in 4th place. Now we get into the first big Slipstream part of the circuit. These guys also have a battery to use too, so they're all into the battery right now, up to speed 360 kph, 370, 380 like it's nothing. Over 400 kilometers an hour now as we go side by side down to the first Mulsanne chicane here. 3 wide. Someone's got to break first, and Drumont goes on the inside of everyone up into 3rd place. But now there's carnage in the back.
Carrazza's off
everywhere.
Carrazza's off, and he's off in a big way as well, right down to the back of the field. Inestrosa also caught up in some strife there, as well as he dropped right down the order.
So yeah, still going now as Drumont and Lamoutelet have found themselves already with a 2.5 second gap for the Spanish cars ahead. So really this is a great start for Serrano and Ura, but a nightmare for the rest. They're already out of 16 range, and if they keep fighting like this, all they're going to do is let them go further and further away. But we're only on that one halfway down the straight, coming now down to the slowest part of the corner, the Mulsanne corner. down the bottom here. Heavy braking zone, great place to overtake, but right now everyone seems to have, I say got through okay. We've lost Karatsa, 18 seconds down. Nightmare start for him, Tom.
Yeah, not ideal at all for the Brazilian driver. He always seems to be in bother, and I don't think that was particularly of his own making there, unfortunately. Meanwhile, further back, you can see driver getting pretty close for company. Let's have a look and see what happens. So Drumont's going to send it through on the inside into this corner. He goes up ahead of Labutale. Keep an eye out for Karatsa, third in your picture. He biffs it into the back then of Labutale, and then gets tagged by Nostroza behind, who in turn gets hit by another driver there as well.
I think Miyazono might have been the one that started that off. I mean, it's quite difficult, but the upshot of that is Kai de Bruin in 5th place has come up from second to last. So Kai de Bruin, the Dutch driver, with a fantastic start there. You can see the battery being used, and you can see exactly what I thought. Both Spanish drivers are just trying to get away. They've drained that battery, and it's worked. The gap now up to 3.6 seconds from Paul Ura to Thomas Labutale behind. But now, of course, they're going to be lacking that power for the next lap. So it might come back to bite them, but this is exactly what they think this guy's doing.
Absolutely, the two Spaniards clearly working together at this point in the race. The problem is that they're involved in a bit of a stalemate, really. They're sort of driving this race with their shoelaces tied together, and eventually a civil war is going to unravel between the two if it carries on as it is as we head in towards the latter stages, because of course they'll want to finish ahead of one another to get pole position ahead of the grand final.
I mean, ultimately, it's Nations Cup, it's every man for themselves. But their compatriots, they would have spoken about this before the race, probably devised some kind of plan. Meanwhile, Labutale leading Kylian Drumont, 3rd and 4th. Behind them, Kai de Bruin, great start from him. Sasaki as well, also up 4 places from his start. The big losers on that one, Miyazono, Nostroza and Karatsa. Disaster again for Miyazono, our reigning champion, down in 9th position currently.
Yeah, Karatsa down in 12th position there as well. So it's on the top of the pops charts. We're going through them so quickly. Some drivers have made some big gains. Some have lost out quite significantly. We're right on board though with Paul Ura, who we tried to deploy what he's got left of that battery. We saw the two Spaniards using that and leaning on it quite heavily over the course of that last lap to try and build out that buffer whilst they all squabbled behind. So it's the two Spaniards, Serrano and Ura, that lead Labutale and Drumont, and then they're all going to be lining a third and closing up against one another as they head down the Mulsanne straight. Indeed, 3rd place has just changed hands there. Drumont now in front of Labutale.
Yeah, so these guys now in 3rd and 4th need to really work together if they're going to catch this little pair in front. A reminder, the finishing positions of this race sets a grid for the grand final. The grand final is being set on the circuit, which is much twisted. It's interesting that Labutale there given a 1 second penalty. Maybe for his part in what happened at the start there.
Must be.
I admit, I'm not entirely sure what that's for, but that does mean, though, when we get to the penalty line, Serrano's gone deep there, and the second Mulsanne chicane. That's allowed Paul Ura right back onto the rear diffuser of Serrano's car, and just like that, the lead climbs back up again.
Yeah, so close quarters here between these two at the moment, so let's see whether Ura is going to think about finding his way through. If I were him, I'd just be sitting in his wheel tracks, waiting for those mistakes to creep in and just trying to use the advantage of that slipstream. You know, he's going to be saving his tyres. You can see Serrano again a bit wide through the right-hander there, and that's just going to be costing him a bit of time. But look at the penalties that are being picked up. De Bruyne's got one, Labutale has got a 1 second penalty there as well. So Labutale, we know that's for the contact. De Bruyne, presumably, that must be for track limits.
Man, these guys are all just costing each other a chance of the win here, picking up these penalties, because they're going to have no one to work with going on the straight here. Here is Kai de Bruin, left-hand side of your screen, alongside Thomas Labutale. Now, they'll come out of Arnage, which is the slowest corner on the circuit. It's right-handed here, and then immediately be hit with a 1 second slowdown, where the brakes are applied automatically for 1 second. The car goes, lowest rate you can go through. Here it is. Here's the line. That's where Sandler starts. It's not just a second of slowing down, you have to then try and get back up to speed again. So just like that, Labutale and De Bruin go back down to 7th and 8th position. Yeah,
Labutale means dropping down those positions means that Drumont loses his ally, essentially, doesn't he, there really as well. So those two cannot work together. Meanwhile, we see Serrano still under pressure here from Ura. His compatriot has not found his way past as it stands. These two, of course, they know how to work together as a team. They were part of the Spanish lineup that won the Nations Cup back in 2023. And let's see how they unravel here in this race. Through the forward chicane we go, across the timing line, all ready to begin lap number 3. They get on the loud pedal and on the battery. You can see the crowd here watching on in London. They're absolutely loving this one. Miyazono's picking up a penalty, and also Barbara there as well. So these must be track limits penalties, because we're not seeing anything coming up on our screen saying that there is an investigation underway for any kind of contact or incident or something along the lines of that. So we were talking about it prior to the start of this race, Jimmy, and indeed it's coming true here now as well.
It's so easy to pick them up. Carden's got one as well now. So 3 drivers currently out there now with cut track penalties. This is the thing, you're really trying to maximise everything around here. The level of this competition is just so high. So if you can just find that extra half attempt somewhere on a curb, you're gonna take it. Yeah, all track limit penalties are being told there. So a real shame for those guys.
So, looking to Takuma Sasaki. What about Valerio Gallo? Is he to find his way through? Oh, hang on a minute. Here comes Yura as well, right on the back of Jose Serrano. Does he go for it? No, he doesn't. He backs right off going into the braking zone there.
Doesn't need to go for it, does he? I mean, like, if you're Paul Yura right now and you want to win this race, what you have to do is to stay behind Serrano, save your battery, and then just ambush him on the last lap. And there'll be nothing that Serrano can do about it. Although, who's to say Serrano is to save the battery too? But these guys, they don't want to. Oh, there you go. We're seeing a change in position there. So Paul Yura now going up into the lead. That seems orchestrated to me. These guys definitely have a plan, don't they, Tom?
They've got to, no doubt about it. De Bruyne, meanwhile, dropped down to 11th place. You were waxing lyrical about him on the opening lap there, Jimmy, and unfortunately he's now down in second but last. I think he was involved in some contact with Guy Barber potentially, who sent it to the inside. Yeah, the door was always going to close there, unfortunately, and it sent De Bruyne round like a tabletop, unfortunately. Dent Barber into the wall there on the second phase of that Porsche curve.
Oh, that's a big repair bill, the Valkyrie, I'll tell you that.
Gallo still sits on the back here of Takuma Sasaki down into the Mulsanne corner. Brake disc glowing red there. Sasaki a little bit wide onto the curb on the exit. That might compromise his run as we head up towards Indianapolis then. So Gallo in the wheel tracks, in the slipstream. He'll want to try and find his way through on Sasaki before too long. And indeed, he pulls alongside him now. Looks for the inside line into the right-hander. And before we've even made it there, he's got through. Such is the straight line speed advantage with that slipstream. His next target will be Kylian Drumont, who's about a second or so up the road. So Gallo, what he needs... Oh, he picks up a half-second penalty for track limits, though.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's a shame for Gallo to get a penalty like that, but you've got to watch out. They all know the limits are, and that's it. But that means Sasaki will be released. Sasaki up 5 places from his grid position. So a great start from the Japanese driver, but at the moment, it just seems that Serrano and Yura have this one already sewn up.
Yeah, plethora of penalties coming in. The timing screens lighting up like a rental car dashboard here at the moment. Such are the drivers that are just really exceeding the track limits, unfortunately. Yeah, definitely is. That's why I can't get higher cars anymore. Miyazono, meanwhile, he's not made much of an impact on this race, has he? Barber picks up a 3-second penalty for his part in that collision with Kai De Bruyne that we saw last lap. So he'll be very disappointed with that. Not only has he lost time on track, he's now going to lose positions here to Inestrosa. Don't think he'll lose out to De Bruyne, but yeah, not ideal at all there for the Aussie.
Messy so far, really messy so far. I think that everyone just knew straight away it was going to be just a job to try and stop these Spanish drivers. All went in for that same bit of tarmac, and it's just been chaos from there. I mean, Kylian Drumont, his gap to the guys in front of him, he was very, very slightly quicker than first and second last lap, but not enough really to do much about their lead as is. So for everyone else now, it's just about trying to get another position, because as a reminder, these finishing the positions here for this race sets the grid for the grand final where points can be won. So obviously it doesn't really matter so much if you get up to the lead from starting P7 in the grand final, but it's going to make the job a lot harder starting further down the grid.
Yura and Serrano still exchanging places at the sharp end of this one. We're already on the penultimate lap here of this. It's pretty sensible up at the sharp end of this. Do you think it's just by its very nature, because it's been a sprint race, as to why this race has been, let's say, scrappier than we would normally see?
I don't really know, honestly. I'll not give you an answer. I think it's just Le Mans, isn't it? People think, right, okay, I can launch out of this car. We've got a very high-powered downforce car here, so I'm going to take more risks. And these risks can, unfortunately, go away. Gallo, that penalty to serve, of course, as well, as does Barbara and Cardinal. Serrano taking the lead once again back away from Paul Yura. I wonder if they are going to have a fight in the end, because ultimately they are against each other. You don't get a prize, a joint first place. There is one winner, one loser. The second place is just the same, really. Well, let's say if you're aiming first, you'll last.
Yeah, no points on offer in this race, just to remind you, as Jimmy said earlier on, it is all about the grid positions, and I wonder if there's going to be some dress rehearsals coming through in this penultimate lap, just to prepare us for what is to come at the sharp end of this one between Serrano and Yura. They've got to be careful and play it pretty safe, but you can see the advantage that Yura's got with that slipstream, drags alongside Serrano as they go side by side into Indianapolis, so that was decisive and clinical there from Yura. I guess they're just trying to work out where their strengths and weaknesses are at these various points on the circuit, so as to be in the right position to attack on this final lap.
These cars are so fast around here. 3 minute 4 second lap time from our leader last time around. Kylian Drumont there. Giving chase. To be fair, he is making inroads. The gap now down to 3.3 seconds. It was nearly 4 seconds at the start of this lap, so he is starting to catch him. And as you can see, no battery left for Serrano or Gura. A little bit left there for Drumont, but Sasaki with half a battery, so he might be able to actually bridge that gap there to Drumont.
Yeah, he might be able to close it up a bit. I don't know if he'll be able to challenge for that podium position, but interestingly, out of the two at the front, Serrano has got 9% less than Jura at this point. So I wonder if that will pay dividends to Jura on this final lap. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it could make all the difference between passing and not passing for that race lead.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the specific amount of power the battery adds, but it's a significant push to pass. So if you have that in your arsenal, you are definitely going to do a little bit better than the guy who doesn't have it. So anyway, coming on to your last lap here in the sprint race, the Nations Cup. Serrano currently leading from Pole Euro, Spanish 1-2, Drumont in third place, Sasaki in fourth, and again, this is all to decide the group positions in the race coming up next, the grand final.
Yeah, so down in towards this first sector we go. Coming on towards the Mulsanne straight. Now, this is where it has been pretty hectic at the sharp end of this one, and I would imagine that is set to continue. So Serrano it is that leads, but I guarantee Pol Jura is going to be all over his rear wing and his gearbox as we come onto this back straight, and indeed will probably try and find his way through as well. So onto the back straight we go, and let's see how Jura is going to play this one, and whether Serrano has got anything left to just hold the challenge of his fellow Spaniard as we come down here. At the moment, Serrano looks okay, but it's a fairly long run into that chicane. Don't think he'll do anything into the first one, but maybe Jura can line something up into the second one. And again, Serrano just seems to struggle on that mid-phase of the corner. It allows Jura to close up, but on the exit, Serrano gets a better run out of it, and Jura is left there with a bit more work to do.
There we go then, so Pol Jura will get an easy overtake here on the way down to Mulsanne 2, up into the lead for now. Half a lap left. Is that the move? Or has Serrano got something waiting as a reply? We'll see. Through the second Mulsanne chicane, now a run down to the Mulsanne corner, one of the tightest corners of the circuit. You break from 400 kph down to a standstill. Meanwhile, Leboutelet and Miyazono, who's coming back through the field after a poor start, looking to try and get a place.
Yeah, Leboutelet's just mugged Miyazono actually a couple of corners ago. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of this one, down into the Mulsanne corner, Serrano still holds on to the race lead, but the exit out of this one, the run in towards Indianapolis, is where we've seen moves being made. Is this going to be a pass from Jura on Serrano? So the slipstream for Jura, no slipstream for Jose Serrano. How much battery do they have left between the two of them as we come in towards this corner? And has Jura got anything left to try and find his way through?
They've got to be careful here because they could quite easily take each other out of contention here when they are in a company 1-2. So it's basically who wants first the most, I guess, and who's willing to give it up, because if they really are scrapping, there's a chance they can have each other off. We've seen it already up and down the field, but this really right here is going to be the last chance to overtake. Serrano's had a great exit there. Pol Jura really struggling for traction, but Jura is now on the battery and has the tow. The gap is coming down, but I don't think he's going to get there in time, Tom.
Yeah, so coming down into this final sector then, Serrano versus Jura. This is for pole position, the grand final! A late lunge to the inside there for Jura against Serrano, but the door very firmly shut by the race leader. They skim the wall on the outside, and now just 2 sets of chicanes remaining, and Serrano with enough of an advantage, unless he runs it wide or Jura goes for a dive bomb to the inside, but I don't think Jura's going to be close enough. Serrano has got track position. He's got enough in his back pocket to just cruise his way through these final chicanes, and unless he fluffs his lines, which he doesn't do so, it's Serrano running onto the gravel on the exit of the final corner, but he does win the sprint race here in London. It's Serrano in front of Pol Jura, and Kylian Drumont in third place there on his home circuit at Le Mans as well. What a great end to that one.
Pol Jura, I didn't mean to do that, mate. Sorry about that. I just sort of sent it in a bit. But there you go, the two Spaniards absolutely dominating the sprint race there. That's something we've said before in the past, seen in the past. These guys were all part of the 2023 Nations Cup Spanish team who won the Nations Cup that year in the free driver format. So very, very quick drivers in their own right, and of course they're just showing off, basically.
Yeah, that was spectacular stuff from those two drivers. The upshot is it is Jose Serrano who will... ready and focused to go for this race. But here is how the grid will line up. Lots of action to come at the Grand Valley Highway Reverse Circuit in the Red Bull X 2019, and Jose Serrano has got a clean view down towards that first corner. His compatriot Paul Ura alongside him, brilliant they both were in that sprint race a few moments ago. Kylian Drumont heads row 2, and he has got Takuma Sasaki, who made his way up from 10th to 4th at the checkered flag. Gallo lines up P5 at the head of row 3, and alongside him is Thomas Leboutelet. Next up, Takuma Miyazono, the reigning world champion. Not been his day so far in the Nations Cup. Can he make forward progress from there with Angelina Stroza for company alongside? Guy Barbara just on the fringes of the top 10, and completing it is Kai de Bruyne, who we saw in the wars in the sprints. And also Adriano Carazza, he'll be wanting to move forward from 11th position, and Sam Cardinal. We haven't really seen much from the new-coming Canadian here, and we do now see a look at the tyre strategies, Jimmy. Lots of drivers starting on the medium tyres, but a few on the hards as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take a stab at it, right? If you're not really at the front of the field, maybe just bolt the hard on, get rid of it, and then hope for the best. I mean, we'll see how that strategy plays out, but this will also be the first time the other competitors can see what the other drivers are on as well, to get an idea of their strategy. But Serrano, Ura and Drumont opting for that medium compound tyre, so they'll be looking to get some space at the start, but the Boutelet is going to be the cork in the bottle for the midfield. They always get by him as soon as possible. He's going to be very slow to start on that hard compound tyre. So
a rolling start then for the drivers in this race. We'll spread the field out down towards that first corner, but crucially, who is going to be leading when the checkered flag falls here in the Nations Cup? We're about to find out. 30 laps of action to come for our drivers, and of course they must use 2 or more tyre compounds in this race. Very hard wearing of the Red Bull X 2019s on their tyres, but the grand final for the Nations Cup in London is underway as Serrano leads the field towards the first corner with Paul Ura, Kylian Drumont, Sasaki, Gallo all in tow behind. All of those top 5 drivers on the medium compound of tyre. Keep an eye out for Leboutelet. He's sort of the cork in the bottle for the drivers behind, because he's in 6th place on the slower, harder compound, and it really does bottleneck up between these first couple of corners. But a clean start at the sharp end of this race means that Serrano leads from Ura.
Yeah, Gallo there just about staying ahead of the Boutelet, but as you say, really, really difficult through their first lap. All the cars vying for that same bit of tarmac. Drumont there just sitting behind Paul Ura, but now Guy Barbara already up 2 places, as is Kai de Bruyne on that soft compound tyre. Keep an eye out for Kai. He's the only one who's gone for that soft tyre earlier, so he's been very fast here, but won't be able to use the best of that tyre in clean air. But it looks like Serrano right now actually a little bit slow and struggling there on exit of the corner, getting those wheels lit up and the rear tyres spinning. Maybe not quite got the temperature of medium compound tyres yet.
Well, the cars are great when they've got aerodynamic grip, but when they're in these slow corners, they're particularly difficult to drive because you haven't got the air flowing over the car, and there's just not the same levels of downforce that you would be contending with. Leboutelet, meanwhile, is dropping down the order. He's down into 10th position, so that's to be expected because he's on the hard compound of tyre relative to those on the mediums around him. So he's deciding to take the pain in the early stages of this one in the hope that the race will come back to him a little bit later on. The converse is happening for Kai de Bruyne. He's hoping to make progress while the field is all bunched up, while he's on the soft tyres and everyone else is on the medium tyres, as we see Ura going at the start of lap 2 for the race lead against Serrano.
Yeah, straight away, straight by goes Paul Ura up into the lead. Drumont now having to defend from Sasaki, coming into a very, very difficult braking zone down here into this really tight. It's more than 180 degrees of rotation through there. Serrano keeping 2nd place from Drumont, who's now right there. And they both, the Spanish drivers said there before the race that Drumont is the one they are looking out for. He is the driver they fear. So trying their best to keep him there for now, but the first 5 cars all glued together, and de Bruyne up into 5th position.
Yeah, making good progress there is Kai de Bruyne. What's happened here with Miyazono and Leboutelet? Leboutelet got biffed by Miyazono into the back there. Did that cost him a bit of time? Well, actually, it helped Leboutelet a little bit because it drew him alongside Valerio Gallo. Guy Barbara, stage left, he goes through. On Miyazono for 7th position there as well. So that just goes to show when it all bottlenecks up like that in those tight and twisty sections, one mistake can cost you very dear.
Yeah, it can, and Miyazono there just getting things a little bit wrong. Kai de Bruyne up into 4th place. He is charging right now, really making the most of this soft compound tyre. The others are almost standing still by comparison now. coming to the top of the circuit. It's a left-hander. That's Kai's going to look up the inside. Can you make a move on Kylian Drummond? Not quite close enough for that, but he's going to have a great exit here using the traction of that soft compound tyre and the toe. And he might have a go here on Drummond as you come across the start-finish line onto lap 3 we go. Kai de Bruin to the inside, to the indicator there flashing on Kylian Drummond, saying, you know what, mate, go by. I don't want to fight you right now. And Kai de Bruin now up 7 places from his starting position.
Yeah, that's a great bit of strategy there from Kai de Bruin in the early stages. You can see he's a full-time automotive engineering student, so I wonder whether he's been putting that into practice here today. He's all over the back of Jose Serrano, sticking to him like a sweaty shirt at the moment as he tries to find his way through the Spaniard for second position. We're on the back straight in towards the left-hander who'll have more grip under braking and dives his way to the inside. De Bruin driving past Serrano like he was standing still.
You know what, I was saying earlier that he needs to make the most of this soft tyre, and he's kind of doing it. He's just getting by people nice and quickly, and then into the back of Paul Ura there, just showing the difference in speed on the apex there between the medium and that soft compound tyre. Actually caught Kai de Bruin out a little bit, and now where will he pass? Because he needs to pass and just put away. That's the strat now for him up the inside. And you know, make it done. Kai de Bruin goes from 10th position on the grid up to first in just over 3.5 laps in that soft compound tyre. So let's see now what the Dutchman can do.
Well, now he needs to pull out a gap, doesn't he, with Yuri? He needs to stop fighting with him and use those soft tyres to the best of their advantage, because of course they're all well and good while they're in the great operating window that Kai de Bruin is in, but they do wear out very, very quickly, and the last thing you want is a set of tyres that's like chewing gum, because you won't be able to get any traction, any grip at all, and they'll be all over the shop. Ura is not going to take this one lying down though as we come through into the tunnel at the start of lap 4, and he's in the slipstream here is Paul Ura. Can he take advantage of the fact that de Bruin doesn't have the hole being punched in the air in front of him? Well, no, he's not able to find his way through on the Dutchman, so now Kai de Bruin needs to get his head down, needs to pull out an advantage to be able to salvage something later on in this race, because presumably being on those soft tyres he's going to have to go a stop longer than some others.
So Paul Ura actually there was trying to get out of the slipstream. What is he doing that for? Because he doesn't want to fight Kai de Bruin right now, because you can see there is an obvious pace differential. The worst thing you can do for the long race, you've got to look into in the future, not just the lap you're on, is just have that fight and lose that time. So good for Paul Ura. Serrano in third as well, still there. Drummond still there, as is Gallo and Sasaki. So here really your main contenders at the moment. And Kai de Bruin is now in the process of starting to open up a gap, half a second now between himself and Paul Ura, but he is sort of putting these guys along a little bit.
Yeah, the rest of the field on the medium tyres from second down to 10th, all pretty even. I have to say, de Bruin, though, picking up a penalty for a collision with another car. Was that due to the contact with Ura that we saw on the last lap?
Maybe.
Let's have a look.
The stewards know better. What's happening?
Oh, it was earlier on. So it was with Guy Barber, he's just going to biff it into the back of it.
That's pretty clear cut there. We missed him on the broadcast. So Kai de Bruin, after having a great start, is now going to have a second penalty, which is going to pretty much get rid of all that work he's done and really put paid to the Dutchman's efforts there. What a shame.
What a shame. Yeah, absolute tragedy there for Kai de Bruin. He was driving so well. Carranza picks up a 2-second penalty for a collision as well. He has been in the wars here tonight, unfortunately, as we look at Valerio Gallo with a train of cars in front of him. Kylian Drummond directly ahead, and then the two Spaniards of Serrano and Ura just up the road. This is going to go from a battle for second position up to a battle for the race lead effectively in a moment, because Kai de Bruin is going to go through, or is Gallo going to get caught out? He does just get stuck behind Kai de Bruin after the Dutchman has served his penalties. The question is now, though, has de Bruin got any life left in those tyres to dispose of those top three once again? The problem is, as you said, Jimmy, all that hard work has already been undone, so now he's on the back foot.
Yeah, it's I'm not quite sure where his race goes from here. I mean, he will still have that soft tyre pace, so he'll be able to get by these guys again if they let him do it. But now they've let him by once before. They don't want to do that again, because they are also looking after their own race as well. And getting out of someone's way is always a costly time. But on board now, Kai de Bruin. Look at the back of Kylian Drummond in front. Now, this is really one of the better overtaking spots up here. This hairpin in his reverse circuit. So we might have a look here. There's a big lunge up the inside. Wow, big move there by Kai de Bruin. I think he knows now he doesn't need to make these moves if he's going to make this strategy work at all. But Drummond did well there to open the steering and sort of let him by.
There's a nice dive to the inside there for Kai de Bruin. The problem he's got is those tyres are going to be coming towards the end of their useful shelf life in a couple of laps or so. So he really does need to make haste to try and pull out an advantage. He's all over the back of Jose Serrano's rear wing and trying to find his way through on the Spaniard. A dive to the inside is what he needs, and he gets it done into second place there for Kai de Bruin.
Yeah, nice from Kai de Bruyne again, having to do it all again. Or Paul Euro do the same and just let him through. I mean, it's great viewing for us, having Kai just leave the field and, and go back through it again periodically. But for him, yeah, to the inside there. Oh, and Paul Euro actually didn't see him coming. Kai de Bruyne goes very wide there. And Euro back up into the lead. So I think Kai thought he'd have the place definitely there, and Paul Euro turned in. I think to use an old adage that he got to the apex first, did Kai de Bruyne. So I don't know, we'll see what our stewards think of that. Yeah,
some aggressive dives to the inside there for Kai de Bruyne. I mean, he needs to do that, doesn't he, really? But the problem is, like you say, he's 2/10 up the road, which is going to be at a big disadvantage in a few minutes' time, especially on those rear tyres, which are, as you can see, significantly more worn than the other drivers behind.
When you think about it, I mean, Kai de Bruyne isn't that soft compound tyre, but he's not utilised that to his best effort with the penalty earlier on for contact with Guy Barbara. On goal to Kimi Miyazono, who is still here. Right, he's still here. He's just in the back of his pack. The soft tyre's starting to wear, and then more contact there with Paul Euro. Desperate driving now from Kai de Bruyne, I think, Tom.
Yeah, it's like giving Dracula the keys to the blood bank, this, isn't it? He's trying his best here to hold on to these positions, but I just can't see it working there for Kai de Bruyne, unfortunately. He just cost himself so much time with that penalty, and he's now going to be a bit of a sitting duck to all of those drivers who sit in his wheel tracks behind.
We'll just keep an eye on that for now. But this is actually quite nice for Paul Euro. He's got the buffer now to the rest of the guys behind him. So not the worst thing in the world to have Kai de Bruyne in between you, but still running strong at the moment. You see this awesome Grand Valley circuit. I often wonder sometimes what would happen if the barriers weren't there. It could be quite entertaining, but you know why it is over.
Yeah, just get good at swimming, wouldn't you? Or find out how good the X2019s are at swimming, certainly. Let's have a look at something going on behind. This was, Miyazono with a lunge to the inside of Sasaki. And Gallo, I think, was just a little bit slower than Miyazono was expecting going into that corner. Miyazono nearly got two for the price of one, but eventually had to back out of it. Meanwhile, we see De Bruyne going in for a defensive line here against Serrano for second position, but just nothing doing for Serrano at the moment. But you would imagine, again, Kai de Bruyne now coming on to lap 8. This is where we're expecting the soft tyre runners to come in, and De Bruyne being the only one of those. Look at those tyres, they are significantly more worn than the others around him, and it's going to leave him vulnerable here. But I say that, he does get up ahead of Euro with the advantage of the slipstream, but has he got the grip then under braking to retain that lead? He does for now, at least.
I wonder if they can make this tyre go 10 laps, the soft tyre. That will change the landscape of the race quite considerably for everyone else around them as well. So Kai, I mean, he's not putting away, but he's still there. He's still in that little bubble of cars. And if he can stay there, either hold them up or get towed along on this soft tyre, which is now starting to definitely fall away, his lap time much slower than the cars around him, then he can still maybe make something of this. But it really just depends on the strategy of those around him. So right now, the race order is Kai de Bruyne, Paul Euro, Jose Serrano, Kylian Drummond, Valerio Gallo, and Kimi Miyazono, your top 6 at the moment. So we'll see if anyone else can progress from there.
Well, keep an eye out for the medium shop runners behind as well, because I wonder if someone's going to try and go for the undercut, because you can see how close they are just in terms of the timing screen on the left-hand side. They're all within a couple of tenths of a second pretty much of one another. If you're Miyazono, if you're Gallo, for example, do you decide to pit a lap early, go for a faster compound of tyre in the middle stint, undercut everybody else when you're in clear air and just run your own race, get out of the dirty air, get out of the traffic, and try and make dividends like that, as we see De Bruyne then coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 8. So those soft tyres have cried no more. Where's he going to go from here, though?
Yeah, I think maybe I'd have to go for an aggressive strategy now, another soft tyre, and have a go. Now everyone is unleashed. Everyone's like, right, okay, here we go. Now they're fighting as we come down to the hairpin down the bottom end. Drummond looking to the outside of Gallo. Gallo and Drummond now having a little bit of door-to-door contact, or whatever constitutes a door in this car. And Miyazono now being mugged by Sasaki on the inside. The two Japanese drivers side by side. So now that Kai de Bruyne's pitted, everyone's like, right, okay, race on, here we go. And now things are starting to get spicy. And Kai de Bruyne, as we predicted, has gone on to another soft compound tyre.
Yeah, little blue touch paper there to Kai de Bruyne coming into the pit lane, because look at what it's caused. Oh, Euro has a big wiggle there and loses positions to Drummond and to Gallo down to 4th place, and Miyazono biffs it into the back of him as well. Miyazono, he's in the wars here for this one. We've seen a few aggressive dives to the inside, a few uncharacteristic errors from the Japanese driver, and that might be set to cost him a little bit here.
Bro's got a snowplow in front of that thing. He's gone into the back of every car I've seen so far, but not enough. I think it's just racing contact at this point. It's nothing that deserves a penalty in my eyes anyway, but Miyazono now starting to make his play, I think, starting to make his move. Paul Euro struggling a little bit. His rear tyres don't look to be in that too bad of a condition. They're maybe just having a little bit of a bit too enthusiastic on that throttle there. Well, there you go. We're just seeing right now. Apparently, it's Miyazono's dream to visit London, so Glau didn't do that for you.
I was just wondering who's going to go into the pits. Guy Barbara's gone for the undercut here, hasn't he? So he's gone for the medium tyre. Now, where does he go? Surely it's going to be a set of soft tyres next up for him, or at least a set of medium tyres. Wouldn't go for the hards. That would just be, I think, daft, really, to be completely honest with you. This middle stage of the stint, given how close the drivers are to one another on circuit. Let's have a look at a replay here for Paul Euro and see where his second place came unravelled. So he's going through the right-hander, and he's just going to have a bit of a wiggle on the power then here. Big snap of oversteer and a big cave there, but loses second and then loses third.
Well collected there. These slick tyres don't have any slip, really. You go over the grip threshold and you're having a hard spin like that. So they didn't want to collect that. So frantic in the front, but I'm also having a little bit of down the back of Laboutelet and Cardinal. They're both in the hard compound of tyres, and Cardinal is staying with Laboutelet, which is good, a good performance here from our rookie at the moment. So we'll see what they do. They're going to get that hard car out of the way. I think hard then medium for these guys. Surely one stop for Laboutelet and Cardinal, whereas everyone else seems to be opting for maybe a two-stop strategy. We'll see how that pays off.
See these medium tyres now are starting to get a little bit worn. A few missed apexes coming in from a few drivers here. So Barbara did go on to the soft tyres. He was the first of the medium short runners to blink in this race. He's got a 4.5 second buffer to kind of run in front. So that's working out quite nicely there for Guy Barbara. Can he use that soft tyre and the clear air to his advantage? If you're outside of a second or so, generally you're pretty safe in these cars to not worry about the dirty air and so on and so forth, which will just save the front tyres.
The difference is crazy. You look at that right on the back of him now, actually lifting the throttle. I think thinking, I don't really want to pass just yet. You have to really pick your moment in these cars, because if you don't, you end up either spearing into the guy in front of you or just having this big understeer or oversteer moment. I mean, seeing how sensitive the tyres are on this thing, so it has to be measured, it has to be calculated. And will Gallo go for a move this time at the end of the bridge? No, he doesn't. Just staying there for now, happy in third place.
Yeah, Valerio Gallo, former Nations Cup world champion, knows a thing or two about how it is to win one of these races. What about Kylian Drumont in second position as well? Again, he knows how to win a title, won it with Subaru in the Manufacturers' Cup before. And a good opportunity for him to take some honours, take some points, crucially, into the next round of the GT World Series here.
Something you guys might not expect is Gallo actually races from the chase cam.
There we go.
And is one of the best GT drivers in the world. So I always think they're so interesting, because I can't do that. It's so difficult, but he loves it.
You see it often in rallying, because drivers say they get a better feel for the car when they're racing with a chase cam. But yeah, an interesting strategy in these single-seater machines there especially. So it's all pretty calm at the front end of this one. Serrano's been able to build out a 9/10 of a second buffer over Kylian Drumont, which could prove to be quite beneficial there for him, whilst they've been squabbling behind. They're just trying to work together then here, aren't they? They're just trying to close that deficit down. And now Drumont goes to the inside, Gallo goes to the inside of Drumont rather, down into the first corner at the start of lap 12, and the Italian goes through and into second position here.
So there is Gallo up into P2 now, nice. So now he's going to try and lock onto the back of Jose Serrano. Serrano there punching the hole in the air for everybody else, and he's just being followed by this train at the moment. So Drumont doesn't seem too unhappy by that. I'm just curious as to how the strategies are going to play out here, because right now we have 8 cars who are all on identical strategies and then 4 who aren't. So we'll just see which one is the best.
So Brune's been able to close the gap down to Cardinal by about 3 or 4 seconds or so. He's been running in clear air, which is nice for Kai de Bruyne. The question is, did that penalty that he suffered from after that contact that we saw with Guy Barbara cost him too dear to challenge for the race victory? Is it now too aggressive of a strategy to work? Because the problem with these aggressive strategies where you start on the soft tyres, they work as long as your rate is pretty much perfect to the second. If you have problems like he's had, it makes it that little bit harder, and it goes from being a battle for victory to a battle for the podium, maybe even the top 5.
So the way to think about it here really is that is the gap. Kai needs to bring back about 15 seconds to the cars in front, because he has to stop again, and everyone else has to stop again as well. So it has to be a really good stint this one from Kai de Bruyne. but we'll see how that one progresses.
Well, also,
there's Dumont having another go at Gallo, working together, I think now.
Yeah, they've got to be. There's no doubt about it. The gap's down to under half a second, so these two just using the slipstream to try and take those chunks out of Jose Serrano and closing the deficit down. I was just about to say the hard runners have surely got a pit before too long, and they come in at the start of lap 13. Now, where are they going to go in terms of strategy? There's nothing. There's nothing in the rules that says they can't use the soft tyres, but obviously it would be completely pointless to do that because the time you would gain from it would be offset by the fact that you have to make another pit stop.
Yeah, so Labutale and Cardinal both going for the one-stop strategy. It is possible. I just don't know if it's going to be the fastest one, but it's a great. I love this element in these races because think about it. In real life, drivers have a whole team to work this out for them, but you have to do it on the fly whilst you're driving, and driving against some of the best drivers in the world. It takes such capacity to be a high-level sim racer. In my head anyway, it's harder to do this and be fast at this than it is to be a driver in real life.
So who's in the pound seats then in terms of tyres? Well, Miazono's got a little bit more relative to Gallo, a bit more relative to Gallo and Dumont in front, but not much, to be honest. It's pretty even Stevens between them. Let's have a look at Sasaki versus Miazono. So this was Miazono's move, actually, in fact, for fourth place against Pol Jura. So Jura, we saw him make a mistake a couple of laps ago, down to fourth position. Now he's just on the fringes of the top five. So the race coming unravelled a little bit for the young Spaniard here.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in the fight. I mean, you can still see first place from where he is, but he's definitely not enjoyed these worn medium tyres. He's struggled a little bit, especially in traction zones. Seen that a few times now for him. He just can't quite get the car at the point in the same way the others can. It's maybe a bit of a heavy right foot there from Pol Jura, but this is how close it is. You can see Jose Serrano, our leader, from this onboard of Pol Jura, who's in fifth position. And just like always in these Grand World Series live events, it's covered by no more than a couple of seconds. These guys are all so fast.
Just looking at the logo on the side of the Spanish car, it looks like the old Super Aguri logo, that motif that they've got on the...
Maybe it is. I know, maybe they're back.
That's what the streets will remember. Anyway, looking at Valerio Gallo here in third position, you can see a couple of tenths of a second over himself and Takuma Miyazono, but still very even Stevens at the sharp end of this one. Now, who is going to be the driver that will blink first? We're coming in towards pit stop territory. We've seen a few medium shot runners lurking a bit squirrely over the last couple of laps. The times are in the 1 minute 28s. Compare that to the soft shot runners who are in the 1 minute 26s, the medium shot runners who are now in the 1:30s on their out lap as well. So you would imagine it is not going to be too long before we see these pit stops coming in. And will we see a divergence in strategies? Those that are stuck behind maybe going for the undercut, going for an earlier pit stop to try and gain track position, come out in a bit of clear air. Obviously the converse to that is they have to go a lap longer, maybe a couple of laps longer compared to those who pit later.
Well, I did say that our only one-stoppers so far are Labutale and Cardinal, but they are now getting to the point as Dumont, for the first time this race, takes the lead away from Jose Serrano, and Gallo's going through too. So both Dumont and Gallo deciding, right now is the time to pounce. We need to get on with it. We need to get by Serrano and try and pull a gap. Because I think now, Tom, all these guys are on a one-stop. They're going to come in on lap 17. When that medium compounder tyre is at its limit, bottle some hard tyres and just squabble to the end.
I suppose that's the advantage as well. You've got so many other drivers that are all doing the same strategy around you that you can kind of do the same thing. So if you're just like, oh, well, I'll leave it up for a lap longer. Oh, they've done the same. I'll do it for another lap and then another lap and so on. So if you can do that one stop strategy, perfect. But you've got to use two tyre compounds in this race. You can't go onto the mediums and then onto the mediums again. Onto the mediums again. You've got to change tyre compounds. The question is, how long can you keep those medium tyres out? Can you get it so you can run a set of softs to the end of this one? Let's have another look at the change of race lead then. So Dumont with a slipstream on the inside, and Gallo said, oh, thanks very much. There's a gap there as well. I'll go through and into second.
Yeah, nice debate there. That's how you do it. It's like a high-speed chess in the Grand World Series events. But Serrano hanging on. Interestingly, we looked at the tyres just a second ago. Serrano's tyres, that's in the best shape of anyone. He's led this race for the majority so far. So not only is he faster than Serrano, but he's good at looking after those tyres too. Good, very good traits there for a driver here in these events. So on to lap 16 now. We think end of lap 17, all these guys are going to box for some hard compounder tyres. That's what I think is going to happen, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, hard tyres to the end of this one when you've got soft shot runners behind and medium shot runners who are on a one-stopper as well. It's going to be interesting. The soft shot runners now coming into Brunt pits at the end of lap 15, so he's gone for the soft compound of tyre. What did it start? He was on the soft tyre, he went soft, so now surely he's going to go medium, isn't he, for the end of this race? Got to.
Yeah, has to. If he goes on a hard tyre, he's got no chance, so it will be the medium tyre, I think, for kind of Brunt. There it is, onto the medium, so I don't know. He'll have the pace advantage over the hard runners to the end of the race, but it's going to be it's got to be a big push now for Kai de Bruin to get anywhere near these guys. He's a long way back, long way back, and the Boutelle and Card now, they're on the same strategy as him basically, and you can see about a second ahead, but that's not so bad. I mean, that shows you how much slower that hard tyre is. But Kai de Bruin, who's done an extra stop over the Boutelle and Card now, is only 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, it's not worked out too badly there for Kai de Bruin. Of course, he's now got to make up that position on circuit, which is a bit of a problem, because had he not had that penalty, I mean, what's the gap? 2.2 seconds. He would have come out effectively in front, barring, you know, any other incidents that he may have come a cropper with. So it's cost him track position. It now means he's got to do the hard work on the circuit. But if he can dispose of Cardinal pretty quickly, it might bring him back into contention. But of course, as you can see, the top 8 runners are going to be coming in for a set of hard tyres before too long, and that could leave them vulnerable to those that are on the medium tyres in the closing stages of this race, if indeed they've got any life left in them. That's a crucial point. They could all well be on a quicker combat of time, but if they've taken all the good bits out of them, they'll have nothing left at the end.
And look who's been quietly sneaking up the field. Takuma Miyazono up 3 places, up to P4 now, and in the fight for the win here, no doubt about it. Our 2014 Nations Cup champion, showing you just why he is such. Very, very close now to the back of Jose Serrano, and it is going to be a bit of a fist fight on the hard compound tyre as well. We very rarely see these guys race on the hard tyres, so I'm quite curious to see what it's like for them. I know it's going to be slow, it's going to be tough. They aren't going to be on the lighter fuel load though, so it should be a bit nicer, but they take a while to heat up, and they don't have anywhere near the grip of these mediums, so it should be a very, very spicy last 13 laps or so.
Yeah, 8 drivers all on the same strategy. It's going to be very exciting. Well, Takuma Miyazono showing why meditating to that pop song is a good idea before the start of this race. I want to say it's been a calm one from him, but the first laps were a bit scrappy, even by Takuma Miyazono standards. So he's calmed down a little bit. You can see there, philosophy by Alexandros. Well, whatever philosophy he's going by, it seems to be working quite nicely at the moment. Just sitting there in 4th position, biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity. Does anybody dive into the pit lane? Miyazono does. So Miyazono into the pits. He's the first driver to blink. So now he's going to do the undercut relative to those around him.
This could be a huge move here from Miyazono, because these medium tyres, they really are on that last leg. The guys are doing 128s, high 128, 129, and we know the hard compound tyre can easily do a 28 on its own. So this might be a masterclass here from Miyazono, just taking that 1 lap earlier and going for that undercut. So he's having a look around, but you can see him there thinking, right, okay, where are they on the circuit? Where am I? But this means this outlap is absolutely crucial for Takuma Miyazono. I think he's come out on his own as well.
Yeah, it's worked out nicely. He's got a 10
as well.
Yeah, it's worked out nicely. He's got a 10-second buffer to Guy Barbara in front, so that's absolutely perfect there for Takuma Miyazono. Gallo, meanwhile, took the lead of the race away from Kylian Drumont. Serrano was there in the background as well, but exactly what we saw last time as well. Down the start, finish straight into the tunnel in first corner. Gallo, a decisive move there into the race lead for the first time.
And it's so cool seeing these guys race. I mean, we've been doing this now for, I think this is our 8th year of doing this. And these names, they keep coming back, and you just know, right, you've got Gallo, Drumont, Serrano, Miyazono. It's going to be a good race. And it always is. Gallo right now leading from the front with those rear tyres, getting to the point now where traction's going to be a bit of a premium. So I imagine we're going to see him all react to Miyazono's pit stop and try and avoid being undercut too badly. So we're going to see now whether Miyazono's strategy was the correct one or not, and Gallo is continuing. One more lap on the medium, as is Serrano, and Drumont opting to pit. So they're really pushing this medium tyre. I was told in the briefing that 17 laps, so you're going to get out of it. But our drivers think different.
Miyazono's not a particularly brilliant middle sector relative to some other drivers around him. 29.7's not quite the fastest. Of course, the tyres aren't up to the optimum working temperature at the moment. Hard tyres then on for Kylian Drumont. Indestroza following the same strategy there as well. What's it like on fuel? Seems okay for them at the moment. Nothing really too much to worry about. But there is Miyazono. Has he managed to leap from those 2 drivers as they come out of the pit lane, up through and into 7th position then for Miyazono? And Drumont is still in front for now, but he's on colder tyres. Is Miyazono going to be able to take profit and go for the move on the inside? Not quite into there. So it's worked out okay for Miyazono, but not particularly brilliantly in terms of track position, because now he's got to find his way through on Drumont the hard way.
He needs to, I don't know, I think that's not worked out for Miyazono the way I thought it was. The outlap was not enough, but Gallo and Serrano now, you can see them in the acceleration zone. They just cannot get out of the corner. I think they're there. They've just gone a lap too long, I think, on these tyres. I mean, we can see on our end 10% left on the rear right tyre for Valerio Gallo. That thing is going to feel horrible. Now Serrano's going for a move. You don't do it now, Jose. You're fighting. Sasaki and Paul also fighting for moves too. You can see we've got a warning sign there. Don't know what that means, but it can't be good.
No, absolutely critical for these drivers. They've got to come into the pit lane, then surely Gallo has to. No choice for it. Sasaki also following him through there as well. So this is going to be interesting actually here between these drivers to see who emerges where. Has Miyazono lost time? He's still not ahead of Kylian Drumont, and that, as you say, Jimmy, was absolutely critical in terms of the strategy for a potential race victory for Takuma Miyazono. He needed to leapfrog, and soft tyres for Valerio Gallo, as well as Sasaki here as well. So they've decided to do a completely different strategy. Are they going to try and do the soft tyres 10 laps to the end?
We've not seen anyone. We've seen 8 laps from Kai de Bruin. Guy Barbara's been on that soft tyre for 10 laps and come in. Something says it can work. He's going again. So maybe this is the play. We didn't see us coming at all. Medium to soft tyre. So right now, Gallo is going to be able to drive right by these guys and just pull away and have a massive gap. And that might just be enough.
But Serrano and Ura even better, because they have got an advantage over these drivers, and they have got 1 lap fewer to do when they come in, because surely it's got to be at the end of this lap. So it's critical now for Valerio Gallo to get track position ahead of Miyazono, and look at how much grip he's got ahead of the Japanese driver at the moment. Through the right hander we go, out of the hairpin, great attraction, track position on the inside. Surely he's going to dive his way through and into 4th. He does, so Gallo is up ahead. Now his next target is Kylian Drumont.
It has to do it, has to make these moves count now. Does Gallo? Sasaki's got on the same strategy as well, that soft compound tyre. They need to get through very quickly, and now the threat for Serrano and Ura isn't going to be Drumont and Miyazono, it's going to be Gallo and Sasaki. But can they make this tyre last in? So in comes Serrano and Ura, surely also going to go for that soft compounder tyre. They've seen it can work. I really did not see this one coming from these guys. Gallo there just trying everything to get by Drumont. Yep, as we've seen Serrano and Ura on the soft tyre, but where do they come out in relation to this pack? This is going to be super important for this race.
Well, not only have they ripped up the rule book, they've also rewritten it as we come down the start finish straight down here. So where do Serrano and Ura emerge as they come out of the pit lane? They're behind. So it's Gallo versus Drumont, and Gallo leads on the soft compound tyre, and now surely he's going to pull away from Drumont. What about Sasaki as well? Can he join in on the party? He's now in front of Miyazono, but it bottlenecks up through this series of corners. No way through for Sasaki on Drumont through here. He's going to have to wait for the circuit to open up, use the great attraction on the exit of the corner, and challenge Drumont for 2nd place if he's going to have any hope of challenging for the victory on this one against Gallo. To the inside goes Sasaki, and to 2nd place as well.
So Gallo now needs to take the best care of his tyres possible. I just don't know if this is going to be doable on that soft compounder tyre. But you know what I like is he tried it anyway, as has Sasaki. These guys have got to be clever though.
But it's the drivers behind, Serrano and Ura, that are in the penalties. They've got 1 lap fewer to do on the soft compound tyre. They've got 0.6 of a second of a gap to make up to Miyazono and Drumont, who should be relatively easy pickings. Keep an eye out for the 2 Spaniards. Can they bring themselves right into contention in the closing 8 laps of this race? They need to get ahead of Miyazono and Drumont as quick as they possibly can.
I really think this is going to come down to the last lap or 2 here. Serrano making that big move, and Miyazono has to do it. Up the inside goes Serrano, now locking onto the back of Kylian Drumont. The Spanish cars flying together in formation, cutting through the field. There goes Serrano up into P3 now, and in pursuit of Sasaki and Gallo. Paul Ura is going to use the 16, following through. They both go through. Oh my God, contact at over 200 miles an hour, but they all somehow manage to keep pointing the right way. And Paul Ura slots into 4th position behind Jose Serrano, and just like that, the battle for the lead is back on again.
Serrano versus Ura, then they need to work together here to close up onto the back of Sasaki. 0.6 of a second, the deficit between Sasaki and Serrano at this point. 1 lap newer tyres between them as well. Is that going to be the difference between winning this race, or is it going to be a battle for the podium?
My maths say that those rear tyres from Gallo and Sasaki will not last. I don't think they're going to get those to the end. And as you say, Serrano and Ura, who just waited that extra lap, that might be the difference between victory and defeat here in the first round of the Nations Cup. A reminder, top 6 get points here, of course, but when you're fighting for the win, you don't care about getting a point for 5th or 6th. You care about being on that top step of that podium, and it's going to take some wrestling away from Valerio Gallo, I can tell you that now.
It's working out quite nicely here for Labusley. He's right on the back of Miyazono. Meanwhile, Serrano looking for a way through on Sasaki, who parks the car on the apex of the corner. These two both on the soft compacts of tyres, to remind you, but Sasaki's 1 lap older. Just to finish the thoughts on Labusley, he's closing up to the back of Miyazono, might be able to snatch a point off of the Japanese driver. He's on the quicker compact of tyre and has gone for the one-stop strategy. Sasaki to the inside then of Gallo at the start of lap 23 and to the race lead.
There you go then, so people making the moves early, and you have to wonder, is them squabbling going to be the way? So by my maths, it's about 8 or 9% a lap. You take out the rear tyre around here and Gallo tyre around here, and Gallo and Sasaki have to do 10 laps. So
yeah, not easy at all there for them. Let's have a look here at Jura in the slipstream. So down into the first corner. This is Jura's move on the inside there with Dumont. It was so close between them. And as you said, Jimmy, how on earth they managed to exit the corners in the same positions that they entered and in the same direction that they entered was remarkable.
Easy peasy. No, all in a day's work for these guys. So right now, Gallo actually starting to fall off the back of Sasaki a little bit.
Sasaki's trying to pull the pin here, isn't he? He's got to do this if he's going to try and challenge for the victory, because if he starts squabbling with the likes of Gallo, it's going to bring Serrano and Jura right back into play. Sasaki needs the lap of his life to build out enough of a buffer so that when those rear tyres fall off a cliff, he's got enough in his pocket to hold on to that race lead. But look at the difference already in terms of the lap times. I know the top two were squabbling with one another last time around, but 25s compared to 26s and early 27s is a fortnight in these cars.
I just don't think Gallo's got the ultimate pace right now. I mean, like, he's in the toe right here. Serrano opting to stay out of the toe and have a bit more of a slingshot, I think. Right, here we go. So we're on the toe. Gallo on Sasaki. Serrano we're on board with right now. Paul Jura, you can't see, is just behind us on the circuit. Snaking through here. I think we're going to stay where they are. Serrano I think he thought about it for a second there. Maybe it's you know, I can wait. I can afford to wait. My tyres are in much better nick than the guys in front of me. No point me rushing.
So Sasaki it is that still leads then, 0.3 of a second to the good of Valerio Gallo and Serrano as well as Paul Jura. Miyazono meanwhile still in front of now De Bruyne, who is in front in turn of Labusley. So Labusley must have had a moment last time around because he was right on the rear bumper of Miyazono at one point. Not quite sure what has happened to the Frenchman there. But either way, he's now dropped some 3 seconds off the back of that final points paying position. Just a reminder, points all the way down to 6th place. And these 12 drivers that are here in London will also be going through into Berlin. They'll be here for the rest of the season. So all these points are absolutely critical in the Nations Cup as they come through into this left-handed hairpin. It's the calm before the storm, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, someone's going to give at some point, and it's going to be just explosive, I think is the best term for it. Still on board Paul Jura, watching Serrano in front, going for a dive, and we're going to follow our compatriot through on board Paul Jura up into, is it 3rd place? No, 2nd place is Serrano, and they're side by side behind Gallo and Jura bumping wheels as we go down the straight. Jura using the toe, see Serrano putting it across to help his compatriot there. Man, these guys are thinking in 5D, aren't they? It's not just about their race, it's also the race of their teammates around them.
And they're challenging for the race lead against Sasaki now as well, who's coming under pressure from Jose Serrano into this corner. We know you can make a move stick, but you've got to be last of the late breakers and have a very willing dance partner out of the tunnel and into the daylight once again. Serrano now in the slipstream, now against Sasaki, now challenging for the race lead. Does he dive to the inside, to the left-hander? He does, and Serrano goes through. Is the door open for Jura there as well? Sort of on the inside, twitches to the outside line. Sasaki's going to defend it, but that'll compromise his run out of the corner, and Jura just has to wait another day. Goes for a lunge on the inside, but runs it deep. Sasaki's ready to come back through there, but no door is open, and now it is Serrano versus Jura for the victory in this one, and Serrano's got 9/10 in his back pocket.
A huge move from Jura. He has to do that great block pass in the background. Goes trying the same thing. Can't quite make that one stick though for now, and Gallo he knows that if these guys get away, That's it. There's no coming back from this one. But that was a great move from Miura. Just sat on the apex, gave Sasaki nowhere to go. And now, as you say, Tom, it's Spaniard on Spaniard. This time, I've got a feeling they aren't going to play so nice.
No, this is going to be very interesting between these two. It was sort of civil war, really. We saw it in the sprint race a few minutes ago. Are we going to see the same stakes, though, here in the grand final? You would imagine it is going to be a much closer affair, and I would imagine a much more aggressive affair, because points mean prizes, and every point matters, even between Sasaki and Gallo, because it is pretty even Stevens between these two in terms of pace right now.
On board with Gallo at the moment. I have to think, does he have a response to this? I'm not sure he does. Both his and Sasaki's tyres are looking pretty second hand at this point. It's still got 4.5 more laps to go, though.
Keep an eye out for Drummond, who's down in 5th place. I know he's on the hard comment of tyre, but you can see there he was 0.3 of a second quicker than the soft shop runners last time around, and I wonder whether those hard tyres are going to start coming into their own. Over the course of one lap, they are significantly slower, but over the course of a race duration, that is where the hard tyres will begin to pay off. There's a fair gap to catch up. It's about 4 seconds or so. I think it might be a bit too far away given the later stages of this race, but if anything unravels between these top four, as we have seen it do so, it could bring Drummond, maybe Miyazono, back into play for a position up the order.
I just think it's because of the biting we saw in that lap. I don't think the pace is quite there for the hard tyre, but as you say, Tom, for Sasaki and Gallo especially, they're going to really start struggling in a couple of laps' time with this soft compounded tyre. That might bring Drummond back, it might bring Miyazono back, it might bring De Bruin back for a point or two. He's there in 7th place, just waiting behind right now. He's quicker than anyone right now, but that last lap time there, Sasaki and Gallo, having a fight. Will we see Gallo go for a move?
No, not quite. He's not close enough, is he?
I think maybe there's a bit of like, geez, now we're stuck, aren't we?
Yeah.
What do we do now?
They're sort of in no man's land, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
This is the problem. That's the risk with going for that undercut, because, as we said, it's only one lap, but it does have a massive impact on the race. And look at what it's done. 2.2 seconds clear up the road, Serrano versus Jura. And they've got enough of a cushion now in their pocket to sort of get involved in their own squabble, because they know that Sasaki and Gallo will not have the pace to catch up.
Yeah, I just don't think, as you say, Tom, that tyre's got enough in it, and Sasaki's doing enough to keep Gallo behind, and he's doing that whilst being slow. I mean, if we look at last lap time, Serrano 26.5, 25.9 from Jura in the toe, there's a 27.1 and then 27.0.
Oh, Gallo!
Oh, there you go.
Lunges to the inside for 3rd place on Sasaki. Sasaki left the door pretty firmly open there, so maybe he wants to be the follower rather than the followee at this point.
To give you some sort of number to the rear tyres percentage-wise, and we might have a graphic for it soon, but Gallo right now and Sasaki, their rear right tyre on 32% apiece, and then in front of them it's 39% for Serrano and Jura. That's the difference one lap makes around here.
So down the start-finish straight we go. Cardinal gets a warning for bump drafting. The stewards don't take too kindly to that sort of thing here in the GT World Series. It's his first event, so we'll give him the grace of it, but a warning is one step away from a penalty. 10th position currently for Sam Cardinal, a newcomer to the GT World Series. Let's see what impact he can make later on in the championship, because it hasn't been a particularly fruitful evening for him here tonight.
The pace of Serrano and Jura, they really have just opened the taps now. They've put 3 seconds on Valerio Gallo, who is not a slow driver, and just goes to show that when you get your head down round here, these guys, the Spaniards, they're going to be hard to beat this year, Tom.
Well, the crucial point is they've stopped squabbling amongst one another. They've worked together like we saw them doing in the sprint race here. They've just not been, diving up the inside, sending another driver wide, taking 7 bells out of each other. They've worked together to build out that buffer to now over 4 seconds, which has worked quite nicely.
And they have worked together, but here comes your question if you're Serrano and Paul Jura. Who wins this race? Because we're coming in now to the penultimate lap, and Jura is, I'd say, probably in the better position. He's got the toe, which means pretty much an automatic pass into the first corner if you're in about 3-4 tenths or so. Right now, though, I think Serrano is aware, I need to actually try and pull this gap out a little bit. So we're now going to see a bit of a fist fight, I think. And these guys, as I said, they are compatriots. They are part of that same Nations Cup victorious team in 2023 when it was a team game rather than a single driver. But right now, they are enemies. Who will win? Well, in a lap and a half, we're We're going to find out.
It's a mental game here between these two, and Serrano closes the door there on Paul Ura. Well, the door was never really open, was it, to be completely honest? But Ura closes up onto the back of him and is just trying to find his way through, trying to throw a warning sign to Serrano to try and challenge for this race victory here.
You're watching right now two of the fastest Gran Turismo drivers in the world duke it out for the first win of the year here in London. Jose Serrano, your leader, Paul Ura in second place, and with only a lap and a half of this Grand Valley reverse circuit to go, it is anyone's game. Ura, of course, needs to find a way past Jose Serrano. There's realistically maybe one or two more chances to do that, and here's one of them now. Serrano very, very slow there, and Ura deep actually. That might have cost him slightly. Ura has a slightly worse tyre than Serrano in front, but that won't make too much difference. Using the toe up here to the top of the course, and this I think is going to be Paul Ura's next chance on the exit of his left-hander, Tom.
De Bruyne's going down the order as well. I think he's had a problem there, down into 7th position, just behind now to Takuma Miyazono. So out of the points there for him as we come on to the start of the final lap for the grand final of the Nations Cup here in London. It's Serrano who leads Paul Ura 0.2 of a second in it as we come into the first corner. Serrano defends Ura, looking for the outside line. That's going to be brave and bold and brilliant from Paul Ura if he can make it stick. Side by side they run into the braking zone. Serrano's got track position. Ura's off onto the grass on the inside. He's got the line though on the inside, but he switches to the outside line through the next left-hander, and somehow Serrano retains the lead.
Ura's got a toe though down here. This will be the last chance in Racing to make the move. When he goes to the inside of Jose Serrano, he looks for it, doesn't quite make the move. Stick. Serrano goes deep into the braking zone. Will he now get the cut back into this right-hander? Ura takes a wider line. Serrano sits on the apex there. Stops Ura out of the power, but a slight wheel spin moment. Ura looks to the outside. Again, he's alongside, but just can't make it stick. He's wide. He's wide. No.
Oh, it's so hard though when you run it deep though, because it switches back to that left-hander, and it just gave Serrano enough track position. Half a lap to go then here, separating Serrano and Ura from victory in the grand final in the Nations Cup. And laps to the inside for Ura. Can he make it stick on Serrano? He slides. Is that moment over? Is that victory over for Serrano? For Ura then against Jose Serrano. It's advantage Serrano with just a few corners now remaining.
Serrano then, I think, maybe called the bluff there off Paul Ura, just about managing to take the win away. Maybe one last chance for Paul Ura.
It's going to be a drag to the line between Serrano and for Ura then, between the two of them, but Jose Serrano pulls a blinder and wins the grand final of the Nations Cup here in London. It's Jose Serrano on top, Paul Ura in second, Valerio Gano will take third ahead of Takuma Sasaki. What a fantastic end to that race. It has absolutely destroyed my vocal cords as Jose Serrano destroys the competition here in London.
If you're anyone else but a Spanish GT driver right now, you're probably thinking, what do I have to do? Gano there did really well, I think, to make that soft tyre last. His right rear tyre was on 3% when he crossed.